Vandermeer's murder, who exposed the details about Mbenze's death. Dimakatso Leshuru reports.
Senior Prosecutor Ntebantelwa read into the record Sotheny's affidavit to bolster the state's case in opposing bail. Defense counsel advocate Peter Wilkins then asked the state to clarify whether it relied on the correctness of Sotheny's version, including portions that clear him of witness D's murder.
If I understand correctly, my learned colleague says that they rely on it, and that is correct.
That is how the court understands it.
By doing that, the state would concede that he's innocent of the charges.
Criminal lawyer Ian Ellis says the state is playing a dangerous game.
The state, who bear the onus to prove that he's guilty, are going to be double checking on what they say is true when it comes with guilt or not guilty, or they're going to end up before that withdrawing the charges.
Dimakatso Leshuru, Eyewitness News.
A second suspect is expected in the Boksburg Magistrates Court this morning following the murder of 4 people, including 2 police officers in Recha Park. The 24-year-old man was arrested on Sunday. The victims were shot earlier this month while the officers were responding to reports of gunfire. Koskona reports.
The suspect's arrest follows the earlier arrest of 23-year-old Regan Collis, also accused of being involved in the killings of the 2 officers and 2 women. Collis appeared in the same court last week, facing 4 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and 2 counts of robbery with aggravating circumstances. He also faces charges relating to the possession of an unlicensed firearm and ammunition. Collis remains in custody with his formal bail application set for the 25th of August. Meanwhile, police say investigations into the circumstances surrounding the deadly incident are continuing. Eyewitness News.
And thousands of people in London attended a vigil for black academic Jason Arday, blaming racism and relentless media pressure for his death last week. The vigil in central Trafalgar Square came as the head of Cambridge University condemned a racist feeding frenzy prompted by plagiarism claims against Arday. The 41-year-old, who became Cambridge's youngest ever black professor when he was appointed in 2023, was found dead on Friday after mounting accusations he had plagiarized parts of his thesis and exaggerated some of his personal life achievements. Arday, who was diagnosed with autism and other developmental difficulties as a child, had disputed the allegations against him. He said in a public resignation letter in August 5th, that he had reached the limits of what any person should reasonably be expected to endure. Jason's childhood friend Jonathan Miller was part of the mourners gathered at the square.
So he's been around in my life since I was 11, so you're talking about 30 years. Played in the same football team, and yeah, it's just a tragedy. Death by media, misrepresentation, misinformation, lies, all for what? Racism. That's what it boils down to.
Gold's trading at $4,396.30 an ounce. The rand is at 16.26 to the dollar, 22.01 to the pound, 18.81 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $91.48 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays in Sunninghill along the N1 North between Rivonia Road and the Baku interchange. There's also queuing traffic along the M1 South between Marlborough Drive and Corlett Drive.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 25 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Police have arrested a 16-year-old boy in Malmesbury in the Western Cape after linking him to international child exploitation networks.
EWN. In touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, Sanbonani. Good morning, Goeiemorgen, bonjour, mes amis. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. It's so wonderful to once again be with you on 7:02 this morning. I trust you're good this morning. Shall we try connect some dots today? Please. Following Ket Matlala's testimony yesterday at the Madlanga Commission. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. So let's try and help each other connect some dots. I want to make a suggestion to you this morning, and I may very well be wrong. And if I am wrong, I'll take it back. But I'm beginning to realize something about our criminal justice system and the complicity or potential complicity of the now, what do you want to say, suspended Minister of Police, or the police minister who's on leave, whom we have paid over 2 million probably by now, just being on leave. Or is it over 1.5 million? But that's a story for another day. I think that we have not been paying too close of attention to Senzo Mchunu and how he could very well be part of a campaign to get Dumisani Khumalo and these other senior officers to be charged. And here's, I'll explain to you why I'm coming to that. Because for the longest time, we've always been saying, even at the ad hoc committee, there's nothing that you can really point to that Senzo Mchunu has done that's criminal. Even if you think he may have had relationships with Suleiman Karim or anyone, or Brown Bokhotsi, there's no evidence that directly places Senzo Mchunu on the crime scene when we look at the criminal elements. In fact, at the very least, what the police minister may be found guilty of or sanctioned on is that he interfered in operational matters. He went and instructed the National Commissioner to disband the PKTT immediately without even following, any rational guidance. Yes, people complained, but he never really asked for a report on the work of the PKTT, because then he would have seen the work that the PKTT had done. So what I'm asking this morning is, could it be that Senzo Mchunu may be more complicit than we make him out to be? Why am I saying that? Listen to this clip from the Madlanga Commission yesterday of Ket Matlala talking about what Bekicele told him about Senzo Mchunu.
Mr. Cele, he said to me, Mr. Senzo wants to fire General Khumalo and hire and replace him with General Khan to that position of crime intelligence. So, and then, yes, he said, yeah, that's what I can remember.
That's what Ket Matlala said. So, Bekicele told him that Senzo Mchunu wanted to replace Dumisani Khumalo, who's the head of crime intelligence, with the deputy of head of crime intelligence, Firoz Khan. Now, pack that. Drushanta Ramsemi, a week or so ago, when she was testifying at the Madlanga Commission, also mentioned that the head of IDEC had said something about Senzo Mchunu's plans at crime intelligence.
To tell us about the links and the evidence regarding C in Cub.
Peter is a reference to Mr. Nkabinde and Tillis is Advocate Shabalala.
Correct. Peter White has a comprehensive report on the links on various matters, cell phone records, and vehicle provided to him being Mr. Nkabinde.
And who's Peter White?
He's a data analyst.
Within IDEC?
He previously was within IDEC on contract basis. He's now a service provider.
Okay.
Rapesu has provided the transcripts of the court case and judgment. I will await your instructions on obtaining the report providing same to your office.
What report are you referring to here?
The Peter White report, because Advocate Johnson had instructed me to speak to Tilas and find out what evidence against Mr. Nkabinde was at hand, and that is why I'm informing her that Mr. White has a comprehensive report.
Okay, and then there's a response from Advocate Johnson.
Please obtain report. Just met the minister now. Need to put together ASAP. I reply, noted, thank you.
Okay, and you wanted to refer to this exchange in response to a question about from the chair whether the only reason for the inquiry by Advocate Johnson was because Mr. Nkabinde made her feel uncomfortable, and you said you thought that there was a different reason and referred us to this. So can you tell us why you say so and why this is relevant?
My understanding or observation of this is that if she's saying to me, just met the minister now, need to put this together ASAP, obviously the minister is also or happy or approving that Mr. Nkabinde must be investigated, charged, and...
Well, at that stage, there's nothing suggesting that he must be charged. She's just gathering information at the time.
If I may just put it as to how I understand it or understood it in the meeting on the 22nd of January, I want something on this guy.
Meaning what in your speak?
In my head, Advocate Johnson wanted dirt on Mr. Nkabinde, and she wanted to charge him.
And your reference, so are you suggesting that at the meeting, either on the 20th or the 21st, at the minister's residence, that was when the minister and Advocate Johnson discussed Mr. Nkabinde?
I assumed it to be so because of the way Advocate Johnson was pushing for the information, even on the 23rd, and then she said she spoke to the minister, we must move ASAP. The other aspect of the 22nd of January 2025 meeting that made me alert to the fact that the meetings with the minister were common or regular was that she said, Advocate Johnson said to the team, the minister wants to clean up SAPS. He wants us to help him clean up SAPS.
Do you hear
Crime
that?
intelligence in specifically.
So that is Trushanti Ramsemi's testimony, that the head of IDEC, that we now know to be so unethical, that we now know to have violated her own oath of office, even the NPA Act, in serving clearly her own personal interests and those probably of her family and her friends. Because how she has behaved of the head of IDEC is embarrassing and may even lead to her facing charges. She has told the team at IDEC that the police minister, Senzo Mkhunu, wants to what? Clean out crime intelligence. Now, what signs of cleaning out crime intelligence have we seen so far? Let's try and connect these dots. So, if Ket Matlala tells us that Becky Cele told him that Senzo Mkhunu wants to clean out crime intelligence or wants to replace Dumisani Khumalo with Khan, and then the team at IDEC is being told by Andrea Johnson that no, the minister is trying to clean up crime intelligence. What signs of cleaning out of crime intelligence have we seen? Well, to me, it's the arrest of Dumisani Khumalo and other crime intelligence officers. That's the only sign that has been so vivid of the so-called cleaning out of crime intelligence. I've not seen anything. I've not seen the minister, Senzo Mkhunu, announce some inquiry into crime intelligence. I've not seen the police minister do anything else that tries to get to the bottom of cleaning out crime intelligence other than these arrests. And yes, these arrests were not effected by him, but his word is going around. People know that he wanted to clean out crime intelligence, and then because he wants to clean out crime intelligence, suddenly we start seeing people being arrested. I think that is quite bizarre. as the young people would say. It's sus. It's quite suspicious. And then you've got someone who sent Senzo Mkhunu an SMS. Remember, the Northwest businessman, Suleiman Karim, sent a text message to Senzo Mkhunu asking him to stall investigations and drop a contract cancellation probe into that tender that Ket Matlala got from the SAPS. And remember, Mkhunu had said he received the message, but he didn't respond. Guys, no. If Senzo Mkhunu doesn't even know who I am, do you think I'm just going to send a message to him and say, hey, Minister, please stall that investigation? I mean, any rational person. Imagine yourself now sending a message to, I don't know, the Reserve Bank governor who doesn't even know who you are from a bar of soap. And you don't start by saying, hey, I'm Clement Manyathela, I'm a broadcaster. You just go, hey, please let's consider stalling this investigation, blah, blah, blah. Do you think people speak like that who don't know each other? I don't think it's enough for the minister to tell us I never responded. This man, Suleiman Karim, is a problematic character. Here's what Ket Matlala said about his relationship with Suleiman Karim and the link to Hangwani Maumela.
Once again here you are asked to speak to your relationship with now Mr. Suleiman Karim. And under the heading at paragraph 2.5.9, you deal with that. Do you mind reading that into the record?
I confirm that I know Suleiman Karim. I previously approached Mr. Karim to request for funding for my company, Medicare 2420. As already alluded to above, I have since been charged with respect to the Medicare subs tender, and as such, I do not wish to comment further on the nature of the relationship with Mr. Karim beyond confirmation that a funding agreement was concluded, the company belonging to Mr. Karim. I'm aware that there are ongoing investigations on the Medicare subs contract, particularly a financial investigation on the flow of funds from the said contract, and therefore I am of the view that any further comments beyond that which I have provided may lead to self-incrimination.
On this score, you reference a funding agreement concluded with a company belonging to Mr. Karim. What company is that? Which of his companies?
It's Tamiz or something. Just Tamiz.
Tamiz. Okay. Now, when was this about timeline?
July, August 2024.
2022.
2024.
Oh, okay. Now, was that agreement given effect to that funding agreement, in a sense that was the funding extended by his company to you?
Yes, it was.
And how much, what's the amount of the loan?
It's 15 million.
Come again?
15 million rands.
15 million. And you say that you concluded in a funding agreement with a company belonging to him. Was it you personally, or was it one of your companies with this? You say it's Tamiz, a company belonging to Mr. Karim. Who is the other contracting party in this?
No, it was me and him.
You personally?
Yes.
Okay. And what bearing does this funding agreement have on the Medicare contract, if any? Because I see you are invoking once again a right not against self-incrimination.
Yes.
So if I could perhaps understand, what bearing does it have on...
Unfortunately, I couldn't go into the details of
okay. Now, you are able to furnish us equally with a copy of this agreement so that we can have an appreciation of how you extend its terms to the Medicare contract?
The agreement was done orally.
Oh, this one was an oral agreement.
So, hey, guys, maybe we're poor and we don't know how millionaires operate, ne? Like, they just borrow each other 15 million rands, Jay, without any agreement on paper, just nothing. Just go to a businessman and you say, hey, I need 15 million rand, and then they just extend it to you like that. Is that how things work among business people? Okay, sure, granted. Maybe he did. lend him 15 million rand. But that's not where I'm going here. I'm trying to connect the dots. At this stage, Suleiman Karim, we know, texted the minister. The minister, we know, said, yes, I did receive that message, but I didn't respond. I'm saying I'm already questioning how Suleiman Karim texted the minister. I text people I don't know many times. The first thing I do is I identify myself. Hey, good day, sir. Good day, ma'am. My name is Clement Manyathela. This is what I do. I'm contacting you in relation with 1, 2, 3. Any rational person communicates like that. That's why I'm saying make a test. Imagine yourself right now. The Reserve Bank governor doesn't know you, or even the president or the premier. And you send them a message and you say, please, let's consider stalling this investigation. You're not introducing yourself. What does that suggest? So that's Suleiman Karim. That's the link we're making between Suleiman Karim and the minister. We already have a link established between Suleiman Karim and Ket Matlala. We've already have a link between Ket Matlala and Hangwani Maumela. He says they're friends. The point I'm making to you this morning is maybe Senzo Mkhunu is more complicit than we make him to be. Maybe, in fact, this worked in his favor. Maybe he was part of the people that engineered this entire coordinated project diversion, as Andre Johnson called it. And again, I could be wrong. Please let me know how you assess it. I just think it's not coincidental for Bheki Cele to be telling Ket Matlala that Senzo wants to clean out crime intelligence. For IDEC head to be telling the IDEC team Senzo Mkhunu is trying to clean out crime intelligence. And then suddenly what we see are crime intelligence officials being arrested. And already we know that Senzo Mkhunu wants to be the president of this country and the next president of the ANC. What does it take to be the next president of the ANC? It takes millions. The ANC itself has admitted to that. What's the best way to get the millions? If you want to be president of the ANC, well, you need to have some control of crime intelligence. That's one of the easiest ways because monies there are not really as regulated effectively as we would want them to be. So maybe the minister did want Khan to be on there because then he's going to help out with diverting some funds. Who knows? Knowing what we know about Khan and all the criminality that's alleged, the properties he owns, the millions he has, the 30 cars he buys in 1 year. We need to ask serious questions around Senzo Mkhunu. And yes, it may not be direct where he is there on the crime scene, but I suspect there's a lot more here. What do you think? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 0727021702. At 10 o'clock, we are going to be brought up to speed with two important cases unfolding in the courts. Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula's case and Ket Matlala's case. We'll tell you where they are. At 10:30, we're going to be in conversation with the South African Local Government Associations. It's part of a series of conversations we're bringing you with SALGA ahead of the upcoming local government elections. Today, we'll be focusing on the responsibilities of local government. At 11 on our World of Work feature, we're discussing gender equality in the workplace. And 11:30 on our health and wellness feature, we're talking about the pros and cons of using psychedelics. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Dabizita, you are calling us from KZN. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Manyathela.
Sure.
Yes. Senzo Mkhunu was an active participant in all these things. You see, when you look at, remember, the Karim guy is an ANC treasurer in Northwest, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was not a mistake for him to send a message to Senzo Mkhunu to say, stall that contract. Remember that.
Mm.
And then, again, look at the delegates that Ket Matlala paid at 8 January statement for the ANC, you know? So all these things pointing directly to Senzo Mkhunu. And I remember the testimony of the IDEC lady, Ramsamy, where she told us that there was a secret meeting between Andrew Johnson and Senzo Mchunu, whereby Senzo Mchunu instructed Johnson to leave their cell phones outside with her protectors, you know? Yeah, so, I mean, how can you say you are cleaning an intelligence by arresting Khumalo over General Khan after we have had the evidence regarding the criminality surrounding Khan? Yeah, there is no way. You can't say you are cleaning in crime intelligence or by arresting Khumalo over Khan.
But then the thing is, Ndabezitha, what's going to be tough is to look at direct evidence, because at the end of the day, that's what the court cares about. They don't care much about innuendos and circumstantial. It's more, do we have evidence that Senzo even said that to Becky Cele and said that to Adria Johnson? That's what they will have to prove in court. And I think it will be difficult because politicians, crooks, and some of them are politicians. Some politicians are crooks. I think they're always very clever. I mean, that's why you'll never find anything that incriminates Jacob Zuma to this day on paper. And yet, how much do you know about what he did when he was still in the presidency with the Guptas? So they're very clever, these people. So I wonder how we're going to get to the bottom of this. I just think it's very suspicious.
But remember, General Mkhwana has told us that you delete, we retrieve. So watch the space. Those WhatsApp chats are still coming out.
Okay, let's wait and see. Ndabezitha in KZN in Msinga. Thanks for calling. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
Good morning, Clement. I agree with you. Senzo Mchunu has got a lot to answer for and he must be taken into account. However, my question is, why is President Ramaphosa protecting Senzo Mchunu? What more is there to that? Morgan Maumela comes to mind. And another thing, while you're still connecting the dots, can you also go on the project of connecting the dots on this plot to target Masimola? Because there are other characters involved in that as well. So please connect the dot on the people who were targeting Masimola's position as well. Thank you. This is Kechi from Ekurhuleni.
Morning, Clement and the team. When it comes to connecting the dot, I would also want to suggest that the famous farm where everyone is meeting, we heard that Julius allegedly also went there when he was summoned. Now, yesterday, we heard that Karim also has been there. And then obviously, Matlala was there because he was his client. So who knows how many people in government and those who are doing business with the state have been there. And we just need to understand what was happening there by the farm. And Morgan Maumela, now we know that he is friends with Matlala and they were in business together. So yeah, there's a lot of dots to connect.
There's a lot, yeah. And Ket Matlala did say, I know Msibi, he used to call me son. Julius Malema has been to Msibi's home. Yo, there's so many people. Yo, the dots. I mean, I'm just thinking now of the people that are linked to this Msibi person. What was the deal at the farm? What was going on at the farm? Because I don't think everybody knew. If really there was a plan by Senzo Mchunu and IDEC head, because you know what? Andrea, you're going to be NPA head. I'm going to be police minister. Khan, you're going to be head of crime intelligence. I don't think that's the kind of plan you just share with anyone. I think only a few privileged people would know that, if indeed there was a plan. So all these other various players, how are they involved here? We'll connect the dots until we can answer these questions. It's just after 9:30. Sviso has the latest on Eyewitness News headlines. Hello.
Thanks, Clements. Good morning. A new witness is expected to take the hot seat at the Matlala Commission today. It comes a day after suspected crime boss Vusmuzi Ket Matlala's appearance yesterday. Matlala's evidence was limited to reading his statement into the record, but he refused to address several matters because he did not want to self-incriminate. Some communities across the country are counting the cost of the recent cold snap. While many families are repairing their damaged homes, farmers are facing a crisis of their own as livestock losses mount. In Vosseras, one woman says years of hard work, sacrifice and investment were wiped out in a matter of days. And U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to bomb Oman 60 days after the signing of a memorandum of understanding towards a peace deal to end the war between America and Iran. Trump says he will bomb a country long considered a U.S. ally if it gets in the way of a deal with Tehran on the Strait of Hormuz. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling in Parkmore towards Sandton City, we've got a major accident along Sandton Drive. It happened right near the Rivonia Road exit. It's causing heavy delays. This is actually towards Graceland Drive, so please be on the lookout there. While travelling on the M1 South, roadworks are taking place, causing delays between Graceland Drive and Corlish Drive. There's also queuing traffic reported on the N12. This is in the Edenville area. The N12 and the R24 West both experiencing delays between Edenville Road and the Glulies interchange. Out in Boksburg, more delays on the N17 West between Osborne Road and Wits Rifle Road. That's due to more roadworks that are taking place, so please approach with care. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. The lady asked me if I'm comfortable with my excess. I said, excess? Well, according to my therapist, I'm apparently a little too comfortable. But sometimes you just need to make sure. You know what I mean? She just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints. Affordable, lasting luxury.
There are two kinds of people in spring. People who buy tons of plants and liars. Because plants need friends and a pot and who knows what else. Feed the obsession for less at Chamberlain's Blooming Goods Savings Promotion. Get an assorted 6-cell seedling tray for only 29 Rand and a bag of Colterra compost for 25 Rand while stocks last. Visit your nearest Chamberlain from 13 August to 13 September for friendly service, expert advice, and absolutely everything you need to make your home summer ready. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
The Festival of Motoring, powered by Westbank, returns to the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit from 28th to 30 August. Experience thrilling track drives, supercars, drifting, 4x4 adventures, and the very latest in automotive innovation. Book your tickets now on Howler, the Festival of Motoring, where legacy meets innovation.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's go back to your WhatsApps on 072 702 and 702.
Good morning, Madimeja and the team. I think Andrea Johnson was used and she was working with Senzo Mkhunu, General Khan, and everyone else that support Andrea Johnson to get rid of Khumalo so that General Khan can be intelligence boss, and therefore they were going to loot from the slush fund to support Senzo Mkhunu's campaign to become the next president of South Africa. I think Becky Cele must come to Madlanga Commission to give more evidence regarding this matter. Thanks, Madimeja. It's Jabli Sile from Midrand. That's how I connect my dots. Thanks, bye.
Clement, we believe our general. In fact, if you can remember, Nguga Itobi wanted to lead evidence in regards with Ket Matlala. When he was questioning Mkhunu, but the evidence leader was never happy because of the having-led evidence to that. I have a feeling that indeed the evidence leaders, they know something that we don't. In fact, the evidence hasn't been led. And Kwanaza says, Mchunu was influenced. There is proof, but it's still yet to be led. So Mchunu was influenced. Thank you.
Morning, 702, and Clem. What I don't know if you've paid any attention or have spoken about this, but Advocate Johnson, Project Diversion, doesn't that tell you a lot of what they wanted to do?
Morning, Clement and the team. There's a whole lot of stuff that's connecting Mchunu to everybody and everything. But the unfortunate thing, whether we like to admit it or not, there won't be anything tangible to actually. His name is in the mud already. But other than that, there is nothing like incriminating him like 100%.
Yeah, hey. So I want to take you to the Madlanga Commission now. This wasn't the plan, but they've just announced that they're leading evidence based on Msibi. Is it Joe? Joe Msibi? Is that his first name? Joe Msibi's WhatsApps. He has since passed, but he's a taxi boss who has been mentioned a number of times. Some people refer to him as like the leader of the cartel, the Big Five cartel. So currently at the Madlanga Commission, they are focusing on the WhatsApp messages between Sergeant Fani Nkosi, remember him? The chap that used to be close to Shadrach Sibiya and was involved even in tenders, Sentwani and other places. They're now talking about WhatsApp messages between Sergeant Fani Nkosi and this taxi boss who has since died, Joe Msibi. So let's listen to what evidence is being presented.
Letterhead, or if you represent some other agency on that letterhead, we won't share it with anyone. And Sergeant Nkosi says, so I'm signing and then I'll put a stamp. Now, if we go to that document, it is at page 129, and it's an interesting document, the draft document, because it explains what this demonstration is all about. It is a draft that is addressed to the Ministry of Trade and Industry of the Czech Republic. And it's headed Demonstration of Dual-Use Goods in South Africa. Entity demonstrated to, place of demonstration, and it's Sergeant Nkosi has identified the entity who's going to get the demonstration as the South African Police, Pretoria, South Africa. The demonstrating company is a Czech company called Invasys, and Invasys are a company that specialize in high-tech security hardware and software. People who are going to do the demonstration, authorized people from Invasys, are identified. It says the demonstration will take place at the above address, suggesting that it will take place at the South African Police, Pretoria, South Africa. Throughout the demonstration, the goods will be in the hands of an authorized person, authorized by the SAPS. The following goods will be demonstrated. TELUS, that's the trademark IMSI Catcher, with tungsten trademark SWGSM A5/1 and Luna TM MITM Mobile. Now, IMSI stands for International Mobile Subscriber Identity. So an IMSI catcher is something that catches a mobile identity. And in colloquial terms, it's a grabber. What it does is it's a surveillance device that mimics a legitimate cell phone tower, cellular tower. And it tricks nearby mobile phones to connect with it rather than the cell phone tower. And then you can download what is on the communications from the mobile phone that are connected to your grabber as opposed to the nearby cell phone tower. If we go to page 128, and this is from the Invasys webpage, and it's Invasys advertising its solutions. And if you look under Invasys Mobile 360 trademark, It says the mobile phone is today's primary data access point. How to best access its information is a technical question. Our solutions, Telus, Luna, Tungsten, or with trademarks, enable you to do it in any way necessary, ground-based, maritime, or airborne. So Infosys is advertising its capacity to intercept mobile phone communications from the ground, from the sea, from the air. And if we go back...
Before we go back, I thought you were going to show us where Sergeant Nkosi signs and stamps. Okay.
He does in due course sign, but if we go back, it's quite clear in this context that the Czech Republic, having a sense of responsibility in relation to this technology, will not let its companies sell it to anyone they want. It can only be sold to authorized representatives, presumably not just of foreign states, but also of foreign states with whom the Czech Republic is happy to share this sort of technology. If we go back first to the chats with Mr. Msibi on page 97, we see Sergeant Nkosi shares that draft letter immediately with Mr. Msibi. That's at 8:37 p.m., chat number 2. That's the draft. Mr. Msibi responds to him, that's okay. If we go back to 119, we see Mr. Jacob sending in chat number 1, sends the address at which the demo is going to take place. And in chat number 2, still on the 9th of February at 10:24 p.m., 10:24:29, just remember the 29 for later reference, Sergeant Nkosi returns the signed document. We'll look at the signed document in a minute. But 10:24:29 was when he returned it to Mr. Jacobs. If we go back to page 97, we see 2 seconds later he forwards it to Mr. Msibi, 10:24:31. That letter itself appears at page 130. And it is identical to the draft, except that Sergeant Nkosi has now signed it, given his force number, and put a SAPS stamp on it. So Sergeant Nkosi has represented to the Czech government that that Infosys will be demonstrating to the South African police, and that for this reason Infosys should be allowed to do so. If we go back to page 119, chat number 3, on the morning of the 10th, at 7 o'clock, Mr. Jacobs says, "Good morning, Fani. Thank you for the letter. I've sent it to the team. Let me know when you'll send the driver. Thanks." Sergeant, of course, he replies, "Driver's on the way." At 8 o'clock, "Hi, Fani, we're ready. Are your guys close?" And then at 1:11 the next day, "Hello, Fani. Thank you again to you and your team looking after us yesterday. Let me know if Ubaba is happy, and I will drive the process from my side now." Sergeant Nkosi's response is, "Morning. We're on our way to the kingdom as we speak. I'm calling you tomorrow late." Now, the kingdom to which Sergeant Nkosi is referring is the kingdom of Eswatini. And what will emerge is that Mr. Msibi, Sergeant Nkosi, and quite possibly Mr. Motsumi and Mr. Molefi, will get to them later, have a plan to sell grabber technology to the kingdom of Eswatini. Now, of course, that's not what the Czech Republic has been told at all. The Czech Republic has been told that this is a demonstration for the South African Police Service. If we follow this plan, and we run down from page 120, chat 1, Mr. Jacob says, thank you, sir, I'll be available for you. Chat 2, Sergeant Nkosi is responding to that earlier message, which is, let me know if Ubaba is happy, and he says, yes, he's happy. And then the process continues. If one goes to page 121, chat number 7, the foot of the page. Hi, Fani, I hope you're well. We need the company name for the contract with Invasys, and Invasys, again, was the Czech company that makes this equipment. And the email address we need to send the contract to. This will come directly from the Czech company. Over the page, this way Ubaba is protected if anyone tries to go behind his back. Hello, Fani, hope all is well. I'm still waiting on the info for Ubaba's company and email details. Sergeant Nkosi responds sharp, I'm sending. Hello, Fani, hope you're well. Are we still on track? And this is now the 7th of March, and Sergeant Nkosi says, yes, tomorrow morning the king is having a final meeting with the old man. And that presumably would be the king of Eswatini. And Mr. Jacob says, okay, great, thanks.
Cousin, maybe for the record, if we could relate this message, the king is meeting with the old man, to we are on our way to Swaziland. How do they relate in terms of dates?
Well, it wasn't we're on our way to Swaziland, it was we're on our way to the kingdom. That was the 11th of February. This is now the 7th of March. So the visit may not have been the same visit.
Tell you what, we're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll take you back to the Madlanga Commission just after the news at 10 o'clock. This is important testimony coming out, because we're seeing now chats between Sergeant Fanny Nkosi and Joe Msibi, this taxi boss who's known in some circles as the leader of the Big Five cartel. I think there's a lot that's going to be revealed through these chats. It's 10 minutes now before 10.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
The CSIR International Convention Center has over 40 years of experience in hosting international, local, and national business events. This purpose-built venue is set on a tranquil campus in Pretoria East in the knowledge hub and science diplomacy capital, the city of Tshwane. Host your next business event at a venue where innovation meets experience. Visit csiricc.co.za for more information. The CSIR International Convention Center, where smart minds meet.
This is a message from Mayor Jordan Hill Lewis.
Not all heroes wear capes. Some become bone marrow stem cell donors and give blood cancer patients a second chance at life. The South African Bone Marrow Registry needs you to help them make this a reality. I am a stem cell donor, and I ask you to sign up to be a stem cell donor today, or donate to the Patient Assistance Program. Visit sabmr.co.za to find out more.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Right, 8 minutes now before 10 o'clock. This conversation on 702 is brought to you by Capitec. Slam scam with Capitec. You must slam that scam. So investment scams like Morita Forestry have cost South Africans hundreds of millions of rands. I'm sure you've heard of them. You've got criminals using social media, WhatsApp, and word of mouth to make the scheme appear legitimate. They're promising rapid, guaranteed returns. Morita attracts, in fact, they've attracted thousands of investors before collapsing in July 2026. So today, we're unpacking how the scam worked, how the money was moved, why it's difficult to recover, and how you as a South African can protect yourself from similar scams. So we're having this conversation now with Capitec. On the line, we've got Nick Harris, who's the head of financial crime at Capitec, and Jean Rousseau, who's the head of CSI and financial education at Capitec. Nick and Jean, thank you so much for making time for us. So, Nick, let's start with this Morita forestry scam, because it promised huge, fast returns from, forestry and carbon credit investments. Talk us through how a scheme like this is set up and dressed up to look credible.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Clement. Yeah, so I mean, Marita really promised something incredible that, you could just turn a few R100 into thousands or even hundreds of thousands of rands just by investing allegedly in forestry and carbon credits overseas. And really, they did their homework well. They had a proper company name. They registered an entity. Were even posting photos with local SAPS officials on social media. And what really sold was word of mouth. So, friends, relatives were recommended to each other, or even influencers on TikTok and the like. And that personal touch is really what made people let their guard down. But the one thing Marita didn't have was a FSCA registration, which should have been a big red flag. And also what my mom taught me is that money doesn't grow on trees.
And we've seen media reports, Jean, suggesting more than 500 million rand has moved through the so-called money mule accounts into cryptocurrency. What role do money mules play, and why does this make it so difficult to trace or even recover the victim's money?
Yeah, scammers use ordinary people's bank accounts because it lets them behind someone else's identity. The money moves through a real person and not through the scammer, which makes it far harder for anyone to trace it back to the scammer. And then from there, the money is often then converted into cryptocurrency, which lets it cross borders instantly with no name attached for anyone to chase it. And by the time the pattern is spotted, it's usually already moved on. So this all happens incredibly quickly, all designed to hide behind ordinary people. And that's why actually one of the clearest warning signs there is. If an investment product asks you to pay money into an individual's personal account rather than a proper registered business, it's definitely a scam. And it's the ordinary account holder who carries the real risk, not the scammer. So if you let your account be used in this way, you can be implicated in money laundering.
So what do we do then, Nick? Like if someone sees an investment opportunity like this on social media, in a WhatsApp group, or maybe through a friend, what should they do before parting with any money?
So really, I mean, I think the first thing is just to pause and ask yourself, if money could be made like this, why does everybody not make money? Why is everybody not millionaires or billionaires? And also really to check, is the business registered with the FSCA, and can it really offer these products legally in South Africa? I think the broader question for me really is around, just making sure that you must be skeptical of relying on proof and photos or even screenshots of bank accounts receiving money, right? All these things can be faked. If you see something that looks like it's too good to be true, the returns are crazy, it will definitely be a scam.
So if someone, Jean, realizes that they've invested in a scam like this, or maybe they've been asked to use their own bank account to move money for someone else, what should they do next?
So firstly, if you realize that you invested in a scam, you should report it to your bank. Don't think that maybe I've lost already. The fact is that everyone who reports such a scam to a bank helps us to determine who those scammers are using to cover up their tracks. So while the funds may have already left your account, it may not be recoverable. It is important that you can have the ability to help others. So help the bank track and trace and then also flag related accounts and then protect other people. Secondly, if someone has asked you to receive money into your personal account and pass it on, don't. You could definitely unknowingly become a money mule, which would then lead to you facing legal consequences for money laundering and stand the risk of having your accounts frozen, suspended, and even criminal charges laid against you. So it's really not worth the while to do this.
Sure. Yeah, Nick Harris and Jean Rousseau, thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us about really these scams that have terrorized so many South Africans. And thank you, as Capitec, for making it your priority to really teach South Africans out there how to protect themselves so that they're not parting with any monies. I really appreciate your time. Nick Harris is the head of financial crime at Capitec. Jean Rousseau is the head of CSI and financial education at Capitec. It's 2 minutes now before 10 o'clock.
Your voice.
Your
Thank
station.
you so much. Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
All right, I still have a couple of minutes, so let me wrap up the 702 open line with a few WhatsApps. Remember, after the news at 10, we'll take you back to the Madlanga Commission to hear what was discussed on WhatsApp between that compromised cop, Sergeant Fanny Nkosi, and this taxi boss, Joe Msibi.
Clement, you are 100% spot on. I mean, how many civilians walk around with a minister's texting number? That a civilian can so easily have a minister's number that they can text them just randomly and give that instruction without introducing yourself. Where did he get his number? For the minister to say, oh, I saw the text, but I didn't respond or I did nothing about it. It's too much of a coincidence. The minister knows way too much that he is not telling us. There's more to this than what the minister is saying. Walter from Cape Town.
Yeah, look, Walter, to be fair though on the minister, there's so many people who can get your number and you don't even know who they are. I mean, can you believe at some point I had the president's number? I did at some point. Do you think the president knew that I had that number? No. So there are many people who can have contact details of people and those people don't know how they got them. I'm just saying, I have never seen anyone who's never spoken to the person just sending them a message like that, like Suleiman Karim, just saying to the minister, hey, please consider stalling investigations here, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't even introduce himself. Oh, that's not how things work. So what are we not being told here? And because we all know how cautious politicians have to be. If you are expecting a direct message that says from the police minister asserting him here and positioning him somewhere in the crimes, you're not going to find it. That's not how they work. They've come up with clever ways to be smarter. So they're always ahead of us. But we must ask these questions because these movements and connections are very bizarre. It's 10 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. A 16-year-old Malmesbury boy is expected to appear in court today after police linked him to international child exploitation networks. The teenager in the Western Cape was arrested yesterday for accessing and being in possession and facilitating as well as downloading child sexual abuse material. South African police received information from the FBI and the United States Embassy as well as the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Some communities across the country are counting the costs of the recent cold snap. While many families are repairing their damaged homes, farmers are facing a crisis of their own as livestock losses mount. In Fosterus, one woman says years of hard work, sacrifice and investment were wiped out in a matter of days. Zandile Nkosi has lost more than 200,000 rand worth of livestock, leaving her emotional and uncertain about farming operations going forward. Ngoskona Malingamnisi reports.
For Zandile Nkosi, cattle are far more than livestock. Raised on a farm, she developed a love for animals at a young age and spent years building a herd she hoped would secure her family's future. But last week's freezing temperatures and relentless rainfall brought tragedy to her farm. 26 cattle and 5 goats died as the cold weather gripped the region, leaving behind losses estimated at more than 200,000 rand. Nkosi says the financial blow is devastating, but the emotional toll has been even harder to bear.
It has affected all of us. Even the herd boys are feeling the impact because if the cows continue dying at such a rate, their jobs are at risk. My family members have also been affected because this is both their pride and their joy, and they've been supportive as the herd has grown.
Nkosi khona Malingamnisi, Eyewitness News.
A police officer is expected to make his first appearance in the Mitchells Plain Magistrates Court today on corruption charges. The sergeant was arrested over the weekend after he was caught accepting cash to take dagga and tobacco into the holding cells at the local police station. Police spokesperson Wesley Twigg says the cash was found in his possession and the contraband was confiscated in the cells.
The Provincial Commissioner of the Western Cape, Lieutenant General Sizakile Dianki, has issued a stern warning to members of SAPS in the Western Cape who are involved in corrupt activities following an incident on Sunday, 16 August, and said that he is taking a zero-tolerance stance against officers who are taking bribes or abuse their power.
And U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to bomb Oman 60 days after the signing of a memorandum of understanding towards a peace deal to end the war between America and Iran. Trump says he will bomb a country long considered a U.S. ally if it gets in the way of a deal with Tehran on the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran and Muscat have been talking for weeks on future maritime navigation arrangements through the shipping route, and the foreign ministry in Tehran says that the two sides are working on a joint declaration. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai says that a 60-day deadline for negotiations with the U.S. included in June's memorandum of understanding is now irrelevant because the U.S. violated the deal early on. Trump spoke to reporters in the White House.
This morning you said you would bomb the S out of Oman if they got in the way of reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Would you say you're out of patience with Oman as strategic partners?
No, I don't think they behave very well, but we'd handle them very easily, just like we do others.
Gold is trading at $4,396.30 an ounce. The rand is at 16.26 to the dollar, 22.01 to the pound, 18.81 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $91.48 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N12 West. This is between the Edenville Road exit and the Gilulis interchange. An accident reported between these 2 points. There's also queuing traffic along the M1 South between Corlett Drive and Glenhove Road.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 25 and 28 degrees. The top story in EW and this hour, a 16-year-old teenage boy in Malmesbury is expected to appear in court today after police linked him to international child exploitation networks.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 10 o'clock. Good morning. Welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. And thank you for your contributions on the 702 open line. I don't want to waste any more time. I want to take you to the Madlanga Commission because Jotham Mswazi Msibi, remember the taxi boss? Some people have referred to him as the leader of the Big Five cartel. The Madlanga Commission today doesn't have a witness. All they're dealing with are the WhatsApp texts that have been extracted from his phone. And you know how many people have mentioned him, hey? Julius Malema has been there at his house. Shadrach Sibiya seems to know who he is. Sergeant Fanny Nkosi said, that was like a father to me. Ket Matala said, that man called me son. So it's important to know, who was this man communicating with? And what was that communication about? So they're leading evidence around his WhatsApp messages. So let's take a listen now, live at the Madlanga Commission.
be capable of negotiating and entering into agreements on behalf of companies. Over the page, there are certain services that Themi-Style advertises: improved security management, improved risk management, provide secure security systems, provide cross-border security detail, specialist security training, improve on reported security test results, analyze security systems and measures, improve design, implement and monitor all security protocols, policies and procedures. So Themi-Style is presenting itself as a state-of-the-art high-tech security company with surveillance capacity, and as a company that provides services to the state. We ensure that state-owned assets are up to date with the latest security systems, tools, trends, and technology. If we go back to page 197, we see that together with the company profile, Mr. Msibi forwards to Mr. Motsumi an email, and that email is at page 211. Sorry, it's the first chat at the top of page 197 where the email's forwarded, but the email itself appears at 211. And the email is an email that is on an email whose default is German, because it says at the top in German at 15 May 2023 at 2020, Nokotula Numalo wrote, but it's in German, not English. And Ms. Numalo says, "Dear Stefan, please find attached registration documents," and you'll see at the bottom of the email is a CRPC form for Themi-Style, confirming Mr. Msibi as the director of the company. Mr. Motsumi is a trusted partner in the business, and bear in mind that this is with a view to the itinerary that we've just seen that has a stop in Hamburg in Germany, and which involves Mr. Msibi and Mr. Motsumi. Please be assured that they both have the capacity and mandate to conduct business on behalf of the company, so Mr. Motsumi too can represent Themi-Style. They shall present the letter of appointment and service level agreement from state. So they are purporting to have a service level agreement from a state. Confidentiality protocol as stated below is noted and shall be strictly adhered to. Now, again, we have a situation where a European dealer, and we will look at what we suspect was being sold here. But a dealer in high-tech security surveillance equipment and the like is being told that Mr. Msibi and somebody else represent a state. There is then on the 16th of May a series of itineraries, additional itineraries and changes, none of which are of consequence for us. But the next step, and bear in mind this is 16 May where the 15-16 May, the original itinerary related to a trip from 16th to 18th May. If we then go to page 185, we're now dealing with the chats between Mr. Molefe, not Mr. Motsumi, but Mr. Molefe and Mr. Msibi. And at page 185, we see that on the 4th of June, Mr. Molefe, in other words, that's about just over 2 weeks after the proposed return from Zurich, from Europe, Hamburg via Zurich. Mr. Molefe forwards to Mr. Msibi in chat number 5 a quotation. And that quotation we see at page 193. And the quotation has a number. Femi Style are identified as the agent of whomever is providing the quotation. We don't see the letterhead, so we don't know what the company is, whose quotation it is. The date of the quotation is 23rd May. So that would have been 4 days after Mr. Msibi and Mr. Motsumi returned from Europe. And what the quotation is for, item 1, active monitoring system including laptop software and one multi-RAT BTS. That's multi-radio access technology-based technology system. That is a grabber. Item 1 is a grabber. The unit per the price per unit for the grabber is 780,000 euros, which at the time would have been, gosh, I haven't done the equation, but it would have been somewhere between 15 and 18 million rands, I would imagine. Optional, 2 multi-rat BTSs. So you could have an additional extra set of grabbers which would come at 150,000 per unit. And you could also get a tactical DDS jammer. And a DDS stands for direct digital synthesis, and what a DDS jammer is digital technology that can essentially block out other, can be trained on particular frequencies very quickly and can block out other people's mobile communications. So you can shut off everybody else's mobile access with a jammer. That quotation is issued by Femi Style, a company in which Mr. Motsumi, Mr. Molefe, and Mr. Msibi have a central role in, and it comes 5 days after the 4 days after the return from Europe of Mr. Msibi and Mr. Motsumi. And we don't see what becomes of this quotation, whether it ever gets taken up by anyone. We don't know to whom it was addressed either. We do know that it was exchanged between Mr. Molefe and Mr. Msibi. But if we can just step back and take stock at what we're looking at here, because it is quite alarming. Mr. Msibi, Mr. Motsumi, Mr. Molefe, and possibly Sergeant Nkosi are involved. Well, Sergeant Nkosi is certainly involved with Mr. Msibi in one project. Mr. Msibi, Mr. Motsumi, and Mr. Molefe are involved in another. The extent to which Mr. Motsumi and Mr. Molefe were involved in the first project is not clear. Anyway, they're involved in a commercial project. The commercial project involves the selling of high-tech surveillance, digital surveillance systems and jamming technology. The 3 people we're talking about have received some coverage in this commission. Mr. Msibi has been described by General Kumalo, who's the head of crime intelligence, as the then leader of the Big Five organized crime cartel. Mr. Molefe is currently on trial for murder in a matter involving firearms that can be linked to more than 30 other murder scenes in Gauteng in the last 5 years. Mr. Motsumi is someone whose name General Sonona, when he was still head of the Hawks, was too scared to mention. These three men are dealing with foreign companies to get access to grabber technology, purporting to represent a state. And then, at least in the case of Mr. Msibi, they seem to be looking to sell that technology to the Eswatini government. In that first episode, the first case that we saw. Whether or they didn't manage, it seems, in that case, to sell to the Eswatini government, they may well have managed in this case, we just don't know. But whether or not they are managing to sell the technology to a foreign state, they presumably can also have access to it for their own purposes. They are able to deal with the providers of this technology. They are being invited to sign contracts with the providers of this technology, in the case of Infosys, on the basis that they represent the South African state. This is a worrying state of affairs, a very worrying state of affairs. This is the sort of technology that should only go into the hands of intelligence agencies who are then constrained to use it under fairly strict legislative controls. But what we have here is private parties passing themselves off as representatives of states and trading in this, or trying to trade in this technology.
Mr. Chaskalson, that brings me to the question that I was going to ask. And I know that the presentation of this evidence today has been sprung on you. The question I meant to ask is, have we gone so far as to establish whether private entities and individuals can lawfully be in possession under South African law of a jammer and a grabber? Have we gone that far?
A jammer I can't speak to. A grabber, I can say with some confidence, is not something that any private entity ought lawfully to be entitled to use, because digital surveillance, interception of communications, which is what a grabber is for, is something regulated by statute, which requires judicial warrant. And judicial warrants are not given to private parties to intercept communications.
Are we able to get that on affidavit from a witness who's part of the government or intelligence agencies?
I will look into it, and we will, one way or another, we will establish this point. It may be a simple issue of law having regard to the interception. I think it's called the Interception of Communications Act. But
I'm concerned about the types, because it may be that some are regulated and therefore members of the public are not or should not be able to access them. But some devices may be allowed for use by private entities, mobile companies, and other people. So if we can just get that clarity from somebody who has knowledge of these kinds of things, to avoid having to burden you with the answers.
No, we will certainly get an expert in the field to explain this all to us.
We don't want to force you to do research and give us answers. If an expert is able to provide us with an affidavit, then I think that should suffice.
We will ensure that it's done. That takes us to the end of this grabber episode. The next.
Before you go to the next, I know you're not a witness and you're not an expert in this. I'm trying to wrap my head around a jammer is against a grabber. I think I've understood how a grabber would work. A jammer would do what? Would at least
block communications.
For criminal activity.
Well, I mean, at a very low level, a jammer stops your remote control on your car from locking your car when you get out the car. So a lot of small-time criminals have access to jammers which are used, and I'm sure some of us have had that experience. You get out your car, you think you've locked it, you haven't locked it because the signal's been jammed and someone steals something from your car while you've gone into the shop. At a much more grand scale, what a jammer can do is block communications, can stop people communicating on their cell phones. It essentially can block communication that depends on operating at particular frequencies.
It could block law enforcement from listening in.
Certainly on, yeah.
Thank you.
No, please continue, Mr. Chaskalson.
Chair, it looks like you have been the victim of a small-scale jammer. I have too.
Well, I was whispering to my co-commissioners about the incident at Parliament where everybody's devices were jammed.
That's much
allegedly.
If it happened, it was much grander than my experience. I just lost a briefcase. The next topic that I want to move to is actually a series of topics. But what was extraordinary about this phone was it drew connections between topics that we've been looking at in this commission that seem completely self-contained and unrelated to one another. And Mr. Msibi was often, crossing over in relation to people involved in one aspect of our investigation and people involved in another wholly separate one. So let's take as our start, Carnilinks, the tobacco manufacturer whom we came across in the context of General Khan's communications, who pleaded guilty to schemes essentially to defraud SARS, didn't plead guilty, admitted. They weren't ever taken to a criminal court. Admitted to schemes, fraudulent schemes to defraud SARS of tobacco taxes, and whose director, Mr. Sayed, was in close contact with General Khan and appeared to be trying to rig tenders with General Khan through the COVID period. If we go to page 5, we see communications between another director of Carnilinks, Mr. Kyle Phillips, and Mr. Msibi. And we see a connection between Carnilinks and Mr. Msibi. And what we see in these chats, we see a number of things, but essentially what we see is that when Carnilinks gets robbed, they call up Mr. Msibi to sort it all out and find out who's robbed them and get their stock back. And if we go to page 5, we see that on the 26th of February, Mr. Phillips writes to Mr. Msibi, "Hey, Papa Joe, thanks for sorting out. Just tell us where to collect, but please ask if they can recover the firearms as well." So in this theft, which we will see, is a theft of stock. Firearms seem to have been...
Papa Joe is who? Mr.
Msibi. Jotham Msibi. And from chats 3 to 6 at page 5, we see a series of chats from either the robber himself or someone pretending to have inherited the stock from the robber. And those chats are hang on, I've now lost my, unfortunately I've lost my my reference. So I will, those chats get increasingly desperate now that the robber understands that Mr. Msibi is onto the job. So they start at page 22. And the first one says, "Hi," to which Mr. Phillips responds, "Hi, can't talk, send message, I'm at work." "It's me, Ali, I want to talk to you, brother, I want to give back that stock, I want to talk to you, call me, I made a mistake to buy that stock. I just want to ask, there's one of my friends, can I give him that stock so that he can give you?" Then on the following page, the chats continue. Same chat, "I want to be sure if he speaks to boss that I'll give him. Please, brother, talk, brother, say something. What must I do? You're not saying anything." Then there are a couple of missed calls. "Talk to me only for a minute." And the response is, "Send the stock at our factory." "Just talk to me on call, please, for 1 minute." So whoever Ali is, whether he's the robber or the purchaser from the robbers or somehow otherwise linked to the stock and the robbery, he is desperately wanting to make it better. If we go back to the chats, we see possibly why Ali is so desperate. And if we see at the chat number 2, Mr. Phillips says, "Hey, Papa Joe, the guy's been contacting my guys. I said they must deal with you if you don't mind. Thank you for all your help." And Mr. Msibi responds, "Hi, Kyle. He spoke to me yesterday at night. He told me the cigar is on your street next to your factory, but he promised to come. I'm also waiting. It's okay as long as he brings back the stuff. Yes, his name is Ali. That's the name he gave me."
So that's what's coming out of the Mandlanga Commission. It's so fascinating. What do you think they were referring to when they say stock? What's your wild guess? Is it powder? What could it be? Is it a stock of cows? This situation about a grabber, like this Msibi guy, taxi boss, Katiso Molefe, who is on trial or still, is on bail now. And then you've got Mutsumi. Then you've got Sergeant Faninkosi. And this jamming technology grabber. I want to remind you of something quickly. Do you remember Shadrach Sibia, the suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner, at some point was the group of, I think, Forensic Investigative Services in the city of Johannesburg? Take a guess what he acquired when he was in that position. He acquired a grabber. And for some reason, these people that he is associated with were dealing with grabbers for the Eswatini government and others. It's very, 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 very interesting. It's 10:32. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clements. Good morning. WhatsApp messages linked to late taxi boss Jotham Sibi are under scrutiny at the Matla Commission of Inquiry, with allegations that he was involved in plans to sell grabber technology. There's no witness on the stand today, owing to the postponement of alleged crime boss Vusmuzi Ketmatlala's testimony, which was scheduled to continue today. While that testimony is set to resume next Monday, evidence leader advocate Matthew Chaskelson has been presenting messages between Sibi, suspended police Sergeant Faninkosi, and another unknown expert. National Council of Provinces members will be travelling across the country this week to check up on the progress of infrastructure projects and problem areas where they've previously conducted oversight. The visits form part of the House's annual oversight initiative in relation to the timely delivery of public infrastructure and the provision of basic services. And Russia has accused the UK of deliberately opting for an escalation of the Ukrainian crisis following confirmation that British-made drones had been used in strikes on targets in Moscow. The Russian embassy to the UK says Britain is acting as an accomplice and a co-perpetrator of the crimes and attacks. And in response, a spokesperson of the Ministry of Defence in the UK has told the BBC that Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling in Randburg, we've got an accident reported on a Malibongwe Drive right near the N1 exit. It's causing heavy traffic volumes. There's also queuing traffic on the N12 and the R24 west between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. While heading towards Boksburg, do expect delays on the N17 east due to roadworks that are taking place right near the Carnival City entrance. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Local government elections aren't about politics. They're about the roads you drive every day, the water you need, the electricity you rely on, the rates you pay, the services you deserve. You see, local government isn't somewhere else. It's your neighborhood, your street, your home. So in the run-up to the local government elections, 702, Cape Talk, and EWN will be where the issues that matter to you are put in the spotlight, where the tough questions are asked, where the crucial conversations begin, because this is more than local. It's personal. Follow every moment of the local government election on 702, Cape Talk, and EWN.co.za. Download the EWN app.
Uncertainty is rising, but your business still has to deliver. Production targets need to be met. And when your workforce is out of balance, the cost is immediate. Too many employees? Costs climb. Too few? Productivity drops. Workforce staffing helps businesses stay in control with flexible workforce solutions, deployed within 48 hours nationwide. When demand changes, your workforce can change with it. Visit workforcestaffing.co.za. Stay productive, stay flexible, stay in control.
Day 42 in my new kitchen. I'm currently staring at the seamless handle profiles and integrated LED lighting of this masterpiece of modern architecture. My husband thinks I'm making a sandwich, but I'm just running my hands along the porcelain countertops for the 10th time today. I've even started speaking exclusively in a British accent to match the opulence. For a bespoke culinary space, visit Moremi Kitchens today at moremikitchens.co.za.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports, no more disconnected systems, no more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. istratgo.com.
Need some space in your life? Barron's is giving you the boot. The spacious Volkswagen Polo Sedan 1.6 manual. Room for the family, the shopping, the luggage, and whatever else life throws at you. Right now, drive a demo Polo Sedan 1.6 from just $4,990 per month. Serious space, serious value. But hurry, demo stock is strictly limited. Visit Barron's Woodmead and Barron's Broomer today. Barron's, the Volkswagen people. Financed through Volkswagen Financial Services. T's and C's apply.
The Money
Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
If you had to think to yourself, who in corporate SA could write a book like this, Multiply Your Impact in Life and Leadership? I'll tell you, someone who's had a big impact on our business world, and I'm talking, of course, about Adrian Gore, the founder and CEO at Discovery.
Understanding impact is about how you get into that tail, how you stretch it out, and how you really make fundamental decisions that change your life. It's a wonderful principle because it means that nothing is preset, predetermined. It's never too late. I woke up one day and started Discovery.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by Absa Group and DHL Go Trade. Absa Group and DHL Express bring the Go Trade Fellowship to support African SMEs in trading beyond borders, combining Absa's financial expertise with DHL's global logistics capabilities. The partnership provides practical tools, trade knowledge, and training to help African SMEs reach global markets. Absa's a registered FSP.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
22 minutes before 11 o'clock. Before we continue with our next segment and conversation on the show, I think what we'll do maybe tomorrow when we start the open line is try connect the dots around this grabber technology that these guys were purchasing for the Eswatini government. So Sergeant Fanning Nkosi, remember Sergeant Fanning Nkosi is very close to Shadrach Sibiya. He facilitated a number of deals for Shadrach Sibiya. Remember the impalas that were sent to Shadrach Sibiya's farm? Nkosi was the person doing that. Remember the pictures that were revealed of Nkosi going to fetch apparently money in cash from KT Molefe? And there was that white BMW. He was doing that, according to the evidence at the Madlanga Commission, for Shadrach Sibiya. So now we are finding out that Sergeant Fanning Nkosi, who was supposed to be a sergeant, a police officer, was involved in tenders, was involved in purchasing grabbers together with this taxi boss and Katiso Molefe, and they were buying this jamming technology. Now here's where the dot is connecting. Shadrach Sibiya used to buy that technology when he was the group forensic investigations for the city of Johannesburg. Shadrach Sibiya, there was a big controversy around whether or not they were even supposed to, they were given the approval to buy that grabber technology. And this is way back when Shadrach Sibiya was the group forensic investigative services in the city of Johannesburg. And the man that he used to work very closely with, now we found out, has actually been involved together with the taxi boss and Katiso Molefe, who is now on trial. They've been involved in buying or arranging to purchase this kind of technology for the Eswatini government. Who knows if they were not even involved in the purchase of this technology ahead of that ANC conference. Remember, even the chair, Madlanga, mentioned that there was something around journalists. No, it was before Parliament. Was it before the ANC conference or before Parliament? Was it conference? Okay. Because there were also claims, I remember when I was in Parliament 1 year for SONA during the Zuma era, that we struggled with network and we found out that, in fact, there was a grabber that could have been used in Parliament. But remember, there was issues. I think it may have been when, I don't know if it was Fikile Mbalula as police minister at the time, but this grabber technology was being purchased or plans to purchase it even by our authorities. What's going on? It's 19 minutes before 11.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, this conversation is with Salga, inspiring service delivery here on the Clement Manyathela Show. And we're going to be bringing you a series of such conversations with the South African local government associations as we look ahead and prepare for the upcoming local government elections. And today we're focusing on the responsibilities of local government, right? The Constitution promises South Africans the right to accountable and effective local government. But we all know that too often, many municipalities fail in their responsibilities to deliver even the most basic of services. Whether you're talking about potholes or the billing errors, water interruptions, broken street lights, service delivery problems affect people every day, but holding government accountable starts with knowing which sphere, department, or entity is responsible for what. So joining us now to explain how responsibilities are divided, why some problems take longer to resolve, and how residents can report issues effectively is Mtobeli Kolisa, who is the Chief Officer for Infrastructure Delivery, Special Transformation and Sustainability at SALGA. Mtobeli, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clemens. Good morning to your listeners.
So let's
Thank
start.
you for having us.
Thank you for making time. Let's start with the responsibility at local government when it comes to water, electricity, roads, refuse, and billing. Who is responsible for all that?
Municipalities are responsible for those at the level of distribution to communities. I think let's make an example with one service, for example, water. In order to have water coming out of your tap, there is a chain of interconnections that I want to discuss with you. It starts with having water, a dam that collects water when there's rainfall and the rivers are running. That dam is owned by the Department of Water and Sanitation. The water in that dam then gets bought by a water board. In the case of Gauteng, you would have Rand Water, KZN, Umgeni Water, and so on. That water board buys that raw water from the dam and purifies it. And then it sells the purified water in bulk to a municipality, which municipality will then store that water in a big reservoir and then use its distribution infrastructure to distribute to consumers. That's the line of delivery of water. It's similar to electricity, that ESCOM does generation of electricity. It then uses its transmission lines to transmit the electricity at high voltage to different places of South Africa. When it gets to a point where it should be distributed, that electricity is transformed into lower usable voltage by households, and then distributed through a municipal electricity distribution system. So that's how it works in terms of the network industries. You can make examples with others, for example, roads, that there are national roads that crisscross the country, N1, N2, and N3, and so on. Then from those national roads, there would be provincial roads that crisscross particular provinces, and those off-let to municipal roads, either metro roads or like your M1 and so on, or district roads or local roads of a local municipality. So that's how the network works.
Okay. So for someone listening to us who's wondering, okay, when do I know then an issue is, this is a municipal, provincial, or national issue? Does it go into, you have to look at the details, like, okay, the roads, but can you know off the bat that this is a national issue, it's a provincial issue or municipal competency?
It is difficult to know for an ordinary citizen. I know because I work with this. But what would typically happen if there is a complaint in a particular, let's say a road, there's a pothole and so on. The best that I can do as a consumer is to phone my municipal call center or report to my ward councillor. And once it gets to the municipal system, they can be able to identify, that problem is within the municipal road, and channel that complaint to the municipal roads department to attend to it. If it is in the provincial road, they will then submit to the provincial road. If it is in the national road, do the same. But what then tends to happen is that all of this information gets to what we can call a customer care center of the municipality. Then they channel to the relevant authorities for this function. And when it's received by that function, they have to then attend and report back to the customer care center. It does not always work well. particularly if it is intersphere between national and provincial and the municipality. Sometimes it does not even work well within a municipality because the people who are dealing with roads, they will then have make their plan, gather all the material that they need and so on and so on, and then go and fix at the time when they go and fix. The call center person sometimes does not get an update on the dot in terms of this is what we have done so far in terms of responding to this. That's what frustrates consumers. And it's something that in running municipalities, we're saying as Salga, we need to improve.
Yeah, yeah. And why, though, do some of those service delivery complaints disappear into the system? How long should a resident reasonably expect to wait for different types of service delivery complaints to be resolved? Because sometimes it really takes time, or sometimes residents share information, they provide it when reporting a fault, but just nothing goes anywhere.
I mean, the fair expectation is quick turnaround times, at least in terms of information, to say we have reported to the roads department, this is their schedule to attend to it. That should not be something that takes a lot of time. That's what I'm talking about when I say, as Salga, this is what we want to get our municipalities to, where they are able to give that feedback. If I'm a head of roads department and a complaint has come from the customer care center, at least I should be able to say, here is my plan to attend to this, so that when a customer calls again the following day, at least they get the information that this is the plan to attend to this.
Okay.
I agree with you. In many cases, you'll find that you may have lodged a complaint and it takes a day or two, sometimes a week. When you call again, all you can be told is that the complaint is being attended to. But the person you are talking to, they can't go beyond saying attended to in what way. So that's a system that we need to get working even better in all of our municipalities.
Okay, so at what point then should a resident escalate a complaint, and who should they escalate it to if their matter isn't resolved? And would you advise our listeners to go to your councillor or complain directly with the municipality, or is it best to send those complaints to your councillor and they lift them up through the relevant processes at local government?
I think the easiest way for us that is to just call the call center of the municipality and have a reference number of the call that we've made. It becomes better because even when you make a follow-up, you are able to code that reference number and they can trace through the reference number that this matter was now passed to so-and-so and so-and-so is supposed to be doing something about it. When that does not happen, because it becomes now more of an effort for the resident to have to go and find their ward councillor and say, here is my reference number. I called about this. So at this time, the ward councillor is able to then escalate this within the municipality, because council holds the administration accountable for the delivery of the services. So there are two areas. One is you call, you get a reference number, and then when you don't get satisfaction, you have somebody who is there, is your representative in the municipal council, is called a ward councillor, who should take these things up for you.
Got you. What is the role of the municipal entities in service delivery? We've done a series on the show looking at some of the entities or agencies of the city of Johannesburg, whether it's City Power, Joburg Water, there are many of them that we spoke to. How does it work do municipalities don't have capacity to deliver the services, and what's the relationship with these entities?
Yes, if you could give me just 2 minutes.
Sure.
To talk about, firstly, the municipality. What is it? I want to frame it as a community-owned business. That communities come together by way of electing people and the laws that have been established to say we are establishing a municipality, and this business is going to be responsible for delivering various services to us that facilitate our socio-economic development. And for the services that it provides, we're going to pay the municipality so it can go on to provide those particular services. Then, in some cases, as it has happened in the city of Joburg, when these representatives of communities in the form of a council, in council chamber, they receive an assessment that says the extent of the work and delivery that is required for the water services in Joburg is so large that it might be best to do this in a form of a municipal entity. They agree to that, and then they establish a municipal-owned, subsidiary of the municipality to focus specifically on delivering water services to the community. It's still owned by the municipality, but realizing that in order for it to run efficiently, they want to run it as a separate business so that it's not hamstrung by the red tape of a municipal administration. That's how it comes about. So your municipal entities such as Joburg Water, City Parks, City Power, and so on, are all means of delivering municipal services, and they are owned by the municipality. So people get these services, and when they pay City of Joburg, in fact, what happens is that after they get the services, the municipal entity tells City of Joburg that we've provided so much to this particular household. You can then bill them as the City of Joburg and collect that money and pass it back to us, to the municipal entity, so that we can continue providing services. So that's how it really works.
Who do we then hold accountable? Like, what happens when a service is provided by a municipal entity rather than directly by the municipality? Does that change who residents should hold accountable?
You should hold the municipality accountable, because it is the municipality that has established that entity in order to perform its function as a municipality. So it remains a function of the municipality, but the means of delivery is that of using a municipal-owned entity. But what then happens is that also for quick response, your municipal entity may have its own customer call center, so that instead of when you call, the call goes to the City of Joburg administration, and then it gets channeled. So they try to make an easier way of interfacing with the customer by creating a customer relations interface themselves. But if there is no response by the entity, City of Joburg is accountable for that.
Okay. I'm going to go to some WhatsApps. I see some questions from our listeners in a moment, but I want us to quickly touch on infrastructure backlogs and how those affect daily services. Because municipalities, sometimes it seems they're not spending enough on maintaining existing infrastructure. So what happens when a municipality does not have the technical expertise to maintain major infrastructure? Who steps in? Because sometimes Treasury complains that money is meant for the maintenance of infrastructure gets diverted to other things.
Let me first talk about this, the other things which money is meant for. Before we can talk about the actual maintenance of the infrastructure. The design of the municipalities from a financing point of view is that a municipality in South Africa currently is expected to collect 90% of the revenue it requires in order to deliver services. And then national government transfers also some money to the municipality, and that some money is supposed to be 10% of what the municipality requires to deliver these services. Now, this 90% comes from water, electricity, rates income, waste, refuse removal, and so on. In the main, there are about 4 trading services that raise money for the municipality, and the third one becomes the rates that municipality charges the consumer. So all of those 5 streams of main streams of funding for the municipality, they constitute the 90% that the municipality has to deliver. Now, if you look at the Constitution, municipalities, in terms of the schedules of the Constitution, are responsible for at least 46 functions in terms of the constitution. And then over and above that, when Parliament passes some legislation, it then further allocates additional responsibilities to municipalities, such as, for example, environmental management. It is not originally a municipal function, but when Parliament passed all the legislations of environment, it included functions that must be performed by the municipality, similar with disaster management and so on. So this money of the 5 has to fund all of these now 52 functions of the municipality. It is by design that it is so, because the rates income alone is not able to, if you're to say, let's ring fence and not use any money from the service charges, that is from the 4 service charges, the rates income alone would have to charge very high rates for the consumers and property owners in order to fund all the other 46 functions that are not funded through charges. So that's through service charges. So that is the design issue of the municipality. And to make things even worse is that in many of the municipalities, a bigger portion of the income they have is actually the portion that comes from the national fiscus in the form of equitable share. What it means is that if you are entirely dependent on equitable share or national transfers, it means you are essentially operating at 10% of the revenue you require. Because the 90% is one that you should have collected, but you have no collecting capability, or there's no revenue base in your municipal area. So you are running this municipality at 10% of what is required for you to provide the services. That's what affects services in many cases. So in order for the road to be maintained, you take some money from electricity, you take some money from water, you take some money from waste collection in order to have the road, in order to have a park, and so on. But then the water infrastructure needs to be maintained, needs to be refurbished. And what has happened, given our historical situation, there was a need also to extend services to the unserved previously, before 1994. We are now talking about water coverage that is above 90%, but the new consumers that were added in the main are consumers in the townships, in the rural areas, and so on and so on. And those are consumers that are not able to pay for those services. So there again, this income of water has to cross-subsidize those consumers and as well contribute to the other functions of the municipalities that are not that do not collect revenue. Hence, you see what you see in terms of ability to maintain infrastructure. It's a money problem in the first place. As what we would see when National Treasury reports, they would say the grant that was given, which is capital grant, it's infrastructure grant, has not been spent. But what you look at, when you look on the other side, you find that the operating, which is the maintenance part of the budget, is overspent. So municipalities are constrained on the maintenance part to an extent that they don't even have the capability to spend the infrastructure part, because we have to use personnel who are paid through the maintenance part of the fund in order to deliver services using the capital. So that's sometimes the problem that they have.
Got you. Yeah, Mtobeli, Kolisa, we're out of time, but yeah, this is so insightful. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I'm really looking forward to the next installment of these conversations we're having with Salga ahead of the local government elections. It's now, strong communities are built on a strong local government. Every day, municipalities work to deliver the essential services that improve lives and support thriving communities across South Africa. As the voice of local government, SALGA represents, supports, and empowers municipalities to build capable institutions, promote good governance, and advance effective service delivery. SALGA, inspiring service delivery. It's 11:11.
This is EWN.
Sfiso Zulu. WhatsApp messages linked to late taxi boss Jotham Msibi are under scrutiny at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry, with allegations that he was involved in plans to sell grabber technology. There's no witness at the stand today owing to the postponement of alleged crime boss Vusmuzi Ket Matlala's testimony, which was scheduled to continue today. And while that testimony is set to resume on Monday, evidence leader advocate Matthew Chaskelson is presenting messages between CB, suspended police sergeant Fanny Nkosi, and another unknown expert. The messages reveal the trio discuss grabber technology with plans to sell the devices to people yet to be revealed in Eswatini.
What will emerge is that Mr. Msibi, Sergeant Nkosi, and quite possibly Mr. Mutsumi and Mr. Molefi, will get to them later, have a plan to sell grabber technology to the Kingdom of Eswatini. Now, of course, that's not what the Czech Republic has been told at all. The Czech Republic has been told that this is a demonstration for the South African Police Service.
A 16-year-old boy in Malmesbury is expected to appear in court today after police linked him to international child sexual exploitation networks. The teenager in the Western Cape was arrested yesterday for being in possession and facilitating as well as downloading sexual abuse material. South African police received information from the FBI as well as the United States Embassy and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Lauren Isaacs has more.
The police's Amanda van Wyk says intelligence indicated that a target suspected of being linked to violent online syndicates, commonly referred to as 764, was detected in South Africa. She says the 764 networks are violent international online extremist groups associated with child exploitation.
These perpetrators reportedly target, blackmail and coerce minors into online sexual abuse, torturing and murdering of animals, and other forms of harmful criminal activity.
Van Wyk says a search of the suspect's electronic devices uncovered explicit images and videos of child sexual abuse and animal mutilation. Lauren Isaacs, Eyewitness News.
National Council of Provinces members will be travelling across the country this week to check up on the progress of infrastructure projects and problem areas where they've previously conducted oversight. The visits form part of the House's annual oversight initiative in relation to the timely delivery of public infrastructure and the provision of basic services. Today, the Northern Cape delegation is expected to be updated by Premier Zamani Saul on delays and incomplete projects as well as initiatives aimed at improving municipalities. Lindsay Dentlinker has more.
This being a local government election year, municipal performance is in the spotlight more than ever. In KwaZulu-Natal, MPs will engage provincial and local government authorities and interact with communities to establish whether commitments and recommendations arising from previous oversight interventions have translated into tangible progress. Among the key projects under scrutiny is the Umkama's water project, which was last visited during Provincial Week in 2024. Several housing projects will also be under scrutiny, and MPs are expected to receive report back from municipalities on the implementation of the previous Provincial Week resolutions. In the Northern Cape, MPs will visit projects in and around Kimberley, including the Smitsdrift Land Restitution Project, as well as the Solplaatjie Bulk Water Project and the Hull Street Housing Initiative, to assess progress in infrastructure implementation and human settlements delivery. In Priska, 2 major economic development projects will be assessed, including the recommissioning of the Priska Copper Zinc Mine and the Priska Power Reserve. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And Russia has accused the UK of deliberately opting for an escalation of the Ukrainian crisis following confirmation that British-made drones had been used in strikes on targets in Russia. The Russian embassy to the UK says Britain is acting as an accomplice and a co-perpetrator of the crimes and attacks. In response, a spokesperson for the Ministry of Defence told the BBC that Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. Built by 2 separate British companies, the drones in question have been used inside Russia in widespread and successful targeting of military and industrial targets, including refineries and warehouses of the online retail, while wild or retail at least wild berries. Ukraine has repeatedly targeted the company known as Russia's version of Amazon and says that 7 out of 10 of the largest wild berries logistics centers have been disabled. Gold is trading at $4,396.30 an ounce. The rand is at 16.25 to the dollar, 21.01 to the pound, 18.81 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $91.48 a barrel.
In Sharon Lee, we still have got that accident on Malibongo Drive right near the N1 causing delays while traveling on the Mike 1 North, thus queuing traffic towards Greyston Drive. That's due to roadworks. There's also slow-moving traffic on the N12 and the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange due to roadworks.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 25 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: WhatsApp messages linked to the late taxi boss Jotham Msibi are under scrutiny at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Minutes after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. There is interesting evidence being led at the Madlanga Commission this morning. Earlier on, we took the proceedings live and we were listening to evidence that were led on the WhatsApp messages between Sergeant Fanning Kosi. Remember that cop that did a lot of work for Shadrach Sibiya? Well, there are conversations that are quite problematic between him and Jotham. Kimang, Joe Sibanyoni. Is it Joe Sibanyoni, the taxi boss? Joe Msibi, not Sibanyoni. Oh my goodness, it's Msibi. So Jotham Msibi, remember the taxi boss who died, and Becky Kele was at his funeral. Julius Malema was at his funeral. Julius Malema has conceded he knows him. He's gone to visit him at his farm, or he's gone to his farm for whatever reason. It's very clear that this taxi boss was very much connected. So there's evidence being led now, looking at his WhatsApp text with Sergeant Fanning Kosi. And part of what's come out is that they were facilitating a transaction around a grabber. So they wanted to buy a grabber, some jamming technology. And I couldn't help but remember that Msibi and this Sergeant Nkosi and Katiso Molefe, in these WhatsApp texts, you can see that these were the people involved in the patches, in the transaction of this jamming technology. And then when you go back and you think, okay, Sergeant Fanning Kosi, what is he doing talking to taxi bosses and businessmen like Katiso Molefe, who's on trial, who's on bail now? What is he doing talking about such transactions? Well, it's very easy. Go back to who Sergeant Nkosi is. Sergeant Nkosi is friends with who? Or has a good relationship with who? Shadrach Sibiya. Wasn't Shadrach Sibiya at some point the head of Group Forensic Investigative Services in the city of Johannesburg? And when he was there, he purchased and procured a grabber? The dots are beginning to connect here. They really are. So what's been happening now is that we seem to be getting text messages as well from, is it Ze Nxumalo? So those are text messages as well that are being read out between him, Ze Nxumalo. Remember the guy that's friends with Julius Malema? That's what Julius Malema said. He said, I know that person. In fact, we spoke a few days ago. That man's WhatsApps are now being read, his conversations with Joe Msibi. And yeah, one wonders what's going to be revealed, because my goodness, every day at this commission, something shocking comes up. So stay listening to 702 throughout the day for the latest on what's come out of that evidence being led now. It's 11 minutes after 11.
702.
World of Work.
And we get straight into our World of Work feature. And today, being Women's Month, I want us to look at gender equality in the workplace. Has equality truly been achieved for women in the workplace? 70 years ago, around 20,000 women marched to the union buildings to resist a pass law that would have stripped them of freedom of movement and just ownership of self. So this Women's Month, we are marking that legacy. But then over 32 years into democracy, that question still remains. How far has South Africa actually come? Because the Constitution guarantees equality, guarantees dignity, freedom from discrimination for every woman. But in practice, that promise still comes undone in the payslip, in the boardroom, the home, the job interview. So I want to know this morning from you if you truly believe that equality has been achieved for women in the workplace. And if you have received or experienced, I should say, if you've experienced inequality in your own career as a woman, whether in pay, in promotion, just send me a WhatsApp voice note or give me a call and tell me how you were treated and how did you deal with it. Has anything changed? Or maybe you've witnessed some positive changes in your own organization when it comes to equality for women in the workplace. 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. You are welcome to send us WhatsApps on 072 702 1702. Adrian Garden is the Dean of Academic Support at Rosebank International, joining us on the line now. Adrian, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to everyone listening.
So we're talking now just over 32 years into our democracy. How far have we come? How far has this country actually come on women empowerment and equality in the workplace?
Yeah, and I think it's a really relevant topic, especially this month. Unfortunately, the stats are saying that in some ways we've even regressed. At the moment, according to tax-paying jobs, women earn about 78 cents for every rand a man earns. And that's actually down from 89 cents in 2008. So statistically speaking, the gap has actually widened, which is a great shame.
Yeah, it is quite a shame. So what does the gender pay gap look like right now? And in fact, you've just explained what it looks like, but why has it widened, though, rather than narrowed since 2008?
I think it's because of the gray areas in terms of the reporting of pay and pay scales. And I think there are still lots of places where the gender inequality in terms of pay can be hidden, as it were. So, I think thought must be given specifically to how we can make more transparent the real figures that are being paid to individuals in a certain position, including their bonuses, including their performance scales and things like that, where ultimately the difference comes in.
Well, why does the pay gap, though, balloon so much further in the informal economy? Because that's where many women work, right, compared to the formal job market.
Well, I think it's again based on the reporting. If you think about the informal and the trades, there's very little reporting that must actually be done. So in that way, again, we've created an environment where such things are not reported. They are therefore hidden. And you're almost perpetuating a stereotype that has been in place for so long, without a mechanism to expose it and therefore try and address it.
So to be clear, what's the picture looking like though at executive level? Because it seems women hold, I think the last I checked, nearly half of senior management roles in South Africa. So the question then is, why does representation stall so sharply at executive committee and board level?
Yeah, correct. I mean, about 47% of senior management roles are held by women. And actually, that's better than the global average, which is something to be commended. But I think that's ultimately where we have that stall, and the women don't then move on to your executive roles. And I think, again, it's a matter that needs to be addressed in policy and regulation. So, inevitably, female colleagues would need to get married, start a family, look after that family. They would have maternity leave. And even to a point where if you have aged parents, it's typically the female that would then take time off work to care for them. And all of that means that, your work and your career path is significantly impacted, which then makes you less likely or on a lower trajectory in terms of the executive and strategic roles. And again, if regulations and legislation were changed to accommodate that, I think we would be in a better position that would allow us to see the movement from senior management to the executive level.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about the executive glass ceiling, then for women, what are we referring to there, and what role has that played in just worsening the experience of women in the workplace?
Yeah, and I think it is exactly what we're saying, that the role of a woman is significantly impacted in their personal life and in things like marriage and representation in family circles, for the ones that almost have to sacrifice their career to ensure that everything else in life carries on, and that's what creates this gap between your senior management and executive. I think the executive level also focuses quite strongly on strategic and a very narrow list of criteria that would allow somebody to qualify to be considered as an executive. And given the more patchy trajectory in a lot of instances for females, in somebody's view, it makes them less likely or less considered for an executive position. And that's ultimately the glass ceiling, because it's not to do with the person's ability or skill. It is simply to do with a set of circumstances that has hindered their career path in a certain way.
Mm. Which brings us to this phenomena known as the homemaker trap. What does that refer to? Because it seems like unpaid care work translates into this lifelong learnings and career penalties for women.
Yeah, and I think it's especially true in South Africa. We were fortunate to spend some time in the UK, and my wife, or the government had regulations that almost secured a woman's place, and she could take maternity leave for up to a year, for example. And that's not the case here. So, you have to sacrifice a lot in order to care for your children and make a home in addition to what you're trying to achieve in the career. And I think that's essentially the housemaker trap. It is also a double-edged sword, because, whilst you are caring for your children, especially in the African society and in South Africa as well, there is also the communal care for elderly citizens and aged family members as well. But that takes time, it takes resources, it takes somebody to do that. And in a lot of cases, the decision is made that the woman and the female has to do that because the notion is that they are better suited to it. And then that creates this almost vicious cycle of career limitation and being overlooked for promotion prospects.
Sure. Yeah, 011-883-0702. I'd like to hear from you if you're a woman out there who's experienced inequality in your own career, whether it's in pay or you picked it up in promotion at work, how you were treated. How did you deal with that? And maybe there are positive stories as well that you have of your own company where you've seen changes, you've seen inclusivity, more diverse gender diversity and gender equality being embraced by your firm, your organization. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. So we've spoken about the executive glass ceiling, Adrian. We've spoken about the homemaker trap. And then there's also the motherhood penalty and the emerging daughterhood penalty. How do they play out in real careers? Because all of these are sort of interconnected.
They are indeed. And again, I think this is something where men as well have to take cognizance. And if we really want something to change, it should not be beholden on a woman or the female population to, for example, take care or take a day off to look after sick children and things like that. I think there's almost a stereotype or a view or a stigma to say that only the woman must do that kind of thing. And in today's society, it shouldn't be the case anymore. It should be an equal view of how circumstances should be navigated that does not prevent career progression for a woman. If you think of some of the stats, South African women perform around 30.5 hours of unpaid care and housework a week, compared to 12.2 for a man. So it essentially means that women are spending a whole lot more time on unpaid care. And even then, if you think about the fact that they've got a job, it means that they're not necessarily able to focus on that job or complete tasks or assignments or projects in the same way a man could. And that, again, has a certain view in the career path, because somebody will look at the productivity of a man versus a woman and see that the man is more productive. But what they don't take into account is that the man doesn't necessarily fulfill all of these duties in the home environment, So I think that's something that, once again, if from a male perspective, we've got to work against that and actually actively choose to bring in a more equitable support in the home environment.
Mm-hmm. How about when we talk about age, does aging also become a factor here?
Indeed.
Ageism is what I mean.
Yeah.
Not so much aging.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think then it becomes a double-edged sword, because, again, I think our society hasn't been rid of sexism either. So once again, there's a view from male perspective.
Adrian, did we lose you there?
I'm here, sorry.
Oh, yeah, please continue your point.
Yeah, so from a male perspective, that we almost see females as inferior, so the sexism element comes in. And then you also have ageism, where people assume that because a woman is of a certain age, they are less impactful, less productive, and are less in tune with current practices and regulations. So the combination of that then makes it extremely difficult for a female in a leadership and a management position to perform their duties and, once again, be as productive as a male counterpart.
Got you. Let's go to some WhatsApps that have come on 072-702-1702.
Hi, Clement. Good morning. Andre from Pretoria. Great show and a good topic. My daughter-in-law works for a tech company in Cape Town, and she had just finished her 4-month maternity leave. When she's in a senior position at the company. When she came back, she was told that AI has made her job redundant, and so she's got to upskill and learn a whole new role, else she's out of a job. My wife and I partly feel that they they felt a bit nasty towards her because she took not just 3 months maternity leave, but a 4th month, and she needs to add value. So that's the predicament and the challenges that women also face in the workplace.
Morning, Clement. I would like to remain anonymous. Listening to you and your guest, I work for a company where part of the people that recruit new employees whenever a position comes up, and I've realized that in sales, a message comes down from higher up that says, if it's a woman, find out if she's got a young kid. If she's got a young kid, no, overlook that person, because the kid will get sick and they will be called in. We want someone who can work in the position every day, which is a sad thing, but it's like an off-the-record thing that they tell you, that we don't want any woman who's got a child who's like less than 14. It's a problem. So they never even get the job, even if they applied. Once in the interview, they say, I've got a child, that's it.
I mean, this is so wild, Adrian.
Yeah.
Because both age and gender are actually protected under the Constitution and even the Employment Equity Act. So why does this kind of discrimination persist? Why is it so hard for women still today?
Yeah. Well, I think for the enlightened amongst us, it just doesn't make sense. Even from a commercial perspective, I guess if you are ruthlessly pursuing the bottom line and looking for that ultimate productivity, and perhaps that is also a reason why, because the margins today in terms of corporate competition are so small that even the smallest increment or change in that margin can have a big impact on your profits and things like that. Then ultimately that feeling is that you have to be ruthless in order to get the people on there that can be as productive as possible for as long as possible, and things like children and family are a hindrance in that goal. To be that ruthless, I think, is unethical, and as you said, it's unconstitutional. But unfortunately, there are many ways that you can decline a person and not refer to their age, or the fact that they are a young mother. You can almost make it look as if it's another reason why you didn't recruit this person. And that is ultimately what we've got to tackle, is the values within the company, the ethical approach to this recruitment, and then the commercial support for somebody in that position, like childcare and paying for an additional month of or paying for an intern or a replacement for that additional month. Yes, it might cost you a little bit more, but I think in these circumstances and times, that kind of commitment to a person would pay itself back because of the value that person feels, and then the subsequent productivity they would show because they feel valued in that position.
What would it actually take, though, to close this gap between equality on paper and equality in practice?
I think it has to take some firm leadership at the executive level. And it would almost become a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the more women that get into executive roles, they would understand the circumstances, and they would almost pioneer and champion the changes that need to take place. I think we are fortunate at Rosebank International to be led by Professor Linda Meyer, and she is a significant champion for gender and pay equality. And you can see that flowing all the way down from her level, the executive level, down into the organization.
Yeah.
The fact is, we just need more people like that to have a voice and to champion this.
Adrian Garden, thank you so much for speaking to us, and thank you for agreeing to stand in for the guest that we had. And just to note, I know some of you have asked questions about why are you speaking to a man about this issue. We did have Professor Linda Meyer confirmed to speak to us today. That was our original guest, but she couldn't join us anymore, so she suggested Adrian Garden as a replacement. So, and I think Adrian has done an incredible job. So thank you to Professor Linda Meyer for suggesting him. But yeah, I really hope that at some point we'll have a conversation about a workplace that's truly inclusive and doesn't punish women for having children. It's 11:31. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Mbali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme improperly funded more than 40,000 students across 76 institutions to the value of 5.1 billion rand. This is according to an investigation conducted by the Public Protector. Advocate Kollega Calega released the findings of that probe today. Calega says of the money improperly dispersed, only 2 billion rand has been recovered so far. WhatsApp messages linked to late taxi boss Jotham Msibi have been under scrutiny at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, with allegations that he was involved in plans to sell grabber technology. There's no witness on the stand today owing to the postponement of alleged crime boss Vusimuzikat Matlala's testimony. So evidence leader, Advocate Matthew Chaskelson, has been presenting messages between Msibi, suspended police sergeant Faninkosi, and another unknown expert. And the Cape Crime Crisis Coalition says Operation Prosper has failed to bring meaningful change to communities, adding that no high-profile criminals have been arrested. The comments come as gun shootings have continued unabated across the Cape. The collaboration between police and the South African Defence Force kicked off in April to target gang and gun violence in the Western Cape. All those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
And travelling in Bedfordview, we've got delays on the N3 North approaching the Kilulis interchange. There's also queuing traffic along the N12 and the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Kilulis turnoff. If you're travelling on the M2 West, there's queuing traffic between the Crown interchange and Main Reef Road, while on the Malibongwe Drive, there's delays between the N1 and President Foshe Road due to a major accident scene. Please try to avoid that route. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Corporates that care promote and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates that care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring PPS. Their group executive for Mutuality, Ayanda Seboni, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates that care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
Unleash extraordinary with the all-new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8 256 gig from Vodacom. Get it for just 1,549 Rand per month over 36 months on a 4 gig Red Core plan. Plus, receive an in-store accessory voucher up to the value of 1,500 Rand. Enhance your deal at 149 Rand extra per month and get the new Galaxy Watch 9 eSIM. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Can you really take a chance with your business security? With Nashua, you can confidently protect your people and assets with leading CCTV and surveillance technology. Manage staff access and attendance in real time and monitor your vehicles on the move. All supported with backup power solutions to avoid downtime. Reliable tech to secure your business. Nashua. More than print.
AI, global markets, and trillion-dollar companies. Their headlines move fast, but what do they really mean for investors and everyday South Africans? Tomorrow, catch 702 Drive with John Perlman in conversation with 91 as we unpack the trends shaping markets, investments, and the future of the global economy. Discover what's driving today's biggest investment conversations. That's 702 Drive with John Perlman in conversation with 91 tomorrow on 702.
702.
Health and wellness.
This health and wellness feature is brought to you by Cipla. Stay connected with us. Catch the full feature on the Prime Media Plus app, primemediaplus.com, or WhatsApp the keyword health to 072 702 1702. So, I'm sure you've heard about psychedelics before, and that's what I want us to discuss on our health and wellness feature this morning, the pros and cons of using psychedelics, because we've got modern psychiatry that has transformed, right? It's transformed the treatment of many mental health conditions, people living with treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, and other psychiatric disorders often continue to respond poorly to conventional treatment. And this has pushed researchers to look again at psychedelic-assisted therapies, which can be used alongside psychotherapy in controlled clinical settings as much as possible. In fact, there was a 2026 review in Nature Medicine which pointed to rapid progress in the field, but its authors are clear that more high-quality research is still needed to establish safety, effectiveness, and where these therapies actually fit in psychiatric care. But with nearly 1 in 7 people worldwide living with a mental disorder and many still without access to effective care, is psychedelic-assisted therapy a genuine breakthrough for people who've run out of options? Or is it the excitement really problematic because it's ahead of the evidence? Let me know what your interaction or experience with psychedelics has been. Have you ever used psychedelics before? How was your experience of them? And what did you use them for? 011-883-0702, WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Dr. Kevin Stoloff is a specialist psychiatrist who's going to guide us through this conversation. Thank you for your time, Dr. Stoloff. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show. I feel deeply privileged, mostly because I love to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
So thanks for the opportunity.
What exactly is psychedelic-assisted therapy, and how is it different from simply just taking a psychedelic substance?
Right. That is a superb question, because I think that we believe in the medical fraternity that, in fact, psychedelics and psychotherapy must go hand in hand if they're going to be therapeutic. I suppose I better start off with talking about what are psychedelics. And just to be brief, psychedelics originally came from the term mind manifesting. And essentially, these refer to substances which change the way you feel in quite a dramatic way. So they might change your perceptions, they might change your emotions and your behavior and your sense of reality. So psychedelics, when taken sort of out of the room, as it were, out of the therapy room, people can have all sorts of different experiences which might render them vulnerable to decisions which are inappropriate. They might put themselves at risk. And so psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy is very different in the sense that it's in a room with a professional, and it is usually preceded, at least the treatment is preceded by a number of therapy sessions which prepare the person for the experience he or she is going to have. And then there's the experience, or the so-called medicine session, or there might be up to 3 spaced apart. And usually within that, there is psychotherapy going on between the patient and the therapist. And then thereafter, most importantly, there are integration sessions where the unconscious material that has come up during the session is processed and integrated so that somebody can take that and use that in his or her life.
Interesting. Do we have research? Because it looks like there's quite scant research when it comes to these psychedelic-assisted therapy. In fact, just work around psychedelics. So from your observation, are you finding that this is becoming more and more helpful to people who are struggling with some mental disorders?
Yes, I say yes cautiously, because it is the case. But in fact, I would argue that actually there is much research having gone on in the last 10 or more years about psychedelics. And really it's important to understand that, psychedelics, I suppose the difficulty in South Africa is that a lot of European research, for example, in England and America, doesn't make sense in terms of South Africans and our socioeconomic climate or our socioeconomic situation. So it's difficult to say. So it's going to make a big difference in terms of 2 things. One, from psychedelics, we can extrapolate where emotions are sitting in the brain and where different experiences are sitting in the brain. So they're teaching us and scientists about the brain and how it works, and about consciousness. So that's the one aspect. And on the other hand, from psychedelics, if the therapy is accompanying it, people can have a different sort of wellness where instead of the usual psychiatric medicines which block or blunt or a bit like, on an antidepressant, although they're life-saving, it's a bit like walking around like a Michelin man and where you're knocking into things which don't hurt. At the same time, you're not feeling the beautiful breeze on your face. And so psychedelics offer a different experience, a different sort of wellness. And people that have benefit from it say that they feel a wellness that they've never felt before. Those are the people that feel that they've had a benefit from it. So it's really something that is relatively new in terms of once upon a time in the 70s, before Nixon banned them, there was huge amounts of research which people forgot about. They were using LSD for alcoholism, etc. And then there was the great clampdown. And only recently, in the last 10 or 15 years, has there been a renewed interest in taking up those studies and looking at these substances more deeply and carefully.
I want to go back to the substances, Dr. Stoloff, because we may be moving too fast for some people here. How would you then describe like the psychedelics? Like, is it because there's too many elements involved, right? Some people want to know: are we talking about mushroom? Are we talking about weed infused, like gummies, or what are we talking about here?
Yeah. So I thought about that question because I thought I'd be asked it, and I think it's important to understand. It's important to understand that people can understand what does psychedelic mean. I mean, if you look through a kaleidoscope, you remember looking through a kaleidoscope when you were little, or maybe not little, and light seems to fragment in all different directions, right? So that would be a kind of psychedelic experience, just looking through that. Because an example of a type of psychedelic experience you might have on a psychedelic. Now, cannabis can do similar things to people. And so they would say that cannabis has some psychedelic effects.
Okay.
However, actual psychedelics are termed classic psychedelics. And the classic means that it's a pharmacological categorization. So it's the 3 or 4 substances that work at a particular receptor on the brain that make them official classic psychedelics, if you know what I mean. So that's a pharmacological classification. And that includes psilocybin mushrooms, it includes LSD, it includes DMT, and that includes various other, and mescaline, for example. So those are the most common 4 classic psychedelics we talk about. And then cannabis, albeit that it gives you some psychedelic effects, is not a proper psychedelic, as it were. I hope that helps.
Yes, very helpful. What are the real risks? Any side effects, limitations that people should know of? Like, who should this not be considered for?
Yeah. So your question is really pertinent because I think that we know that people with a history of psychosis, whether or not it's schizophrenia or bipolar type 1, in which people can have psychotic symptoms, or in fact, people who have first-degree relatives. So, for example, a mother or a father or a brother or a sister who's had schizophrenia, those people would be very, very ill-informed to take psychedelics because they're much more likely than others to have a kind of psychotic-like experience or a prolonged psychosis as a consequence of taking a psychedelic. So that's an absolute contraindication as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Apart from that, there are certain people who have quite fractured personalities. And I say that because it's a way of talking about people who have been traumatized, perhaps from childhood sexual abuse and other, childhood trauma. And people, unless they were being managed in a very, very carefully psychedelic-assisted therapy program, they would also be vulnerable to having difficult experiences on psychedelics. But it's not impossible for those people to have as long as there's an experienced therapist. And of course, there's the legality about it, and that needs to be brought up, and what is prohibited and what is not in South Africa.
Are there any clinical safeguards that need to be in for psychedelics to be used responsibly?
Well, so this is a very good question. Why I say that is because it's very difficult. We as psychiatrists in South Africa are not meant to speak about substances that are illegal. And so the problem is that on the ground, I have in my practice people coming from all walks of life, even some parents of teenagers saying, I don't want my child to be on Prozac anymore. Please, can she microdose magic mushrooms? And so for me, the most important thing about making it safe is to be able to give information in order to reduce harm. And unfortunately, when we're prevented from it being okay to give information, because it's deemed as giving permission, then we're in trouble, because then people go away with no sense of what is harmful and what is not. So I think the conversation has to begin with educating people about the harms, because people can really do what they want. And we live in a free society. But they need to know what's harmful to themselves and or others.
Yeah. I've got some questions coming through on 072-702-1702.
Hi, Clement. I
Hello.
just have one weird question. If you take or you go on the experience of psychedelics, when you do your medicals for work, will it be picked up as a drug, like how weed would be picked up? Thank you for the lovely show, Lee Centurion.
Oh, thank you, Lee, for that question. Dr. Stoloff?
Yes, you talk, when you say your medical, you're talking about blood tests or urine tests.
Let's say both, because companies do it differently. Some companies take blood tests, some companies mostly it's urine.
Yeah. So there's, say for example, if somebody's trying to test for something, one can't just use one test and say test for everything. You have to be testing for specific substances, even though you can test for multiple in one test. So in urine, for example, the 12-strip test that comes from Europe and America, there is not really a psychedelic strip for that. So you won't pick up psilocybin, you won't pick up LSD, and you won't pick up mescaline or DMT. You could do it if it was a specialized lab, if they were specifically testing for it in blood. But the other way to test for psychedelics is that there's the hair follicle test, which is another whole story. And if it's just a company medical, psychedelics won't be picked up. And I'm talking specifically about the ones that I've termed classic psychedelics.
Yeah.
Ketamine is an important consideration here, because this is the legal psychedelic that we use to treat treatment-resistant depression. That can be tested for by urine and in blood, if it was requested by the insurance company. But it's not something that's routinely done. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, thank you. And then Deboho on the WhatsApp line is asking, hey, Clement, please can you ask Dr. Stoloff there, what is the risk of psychosis after consuming such drugs or being involved in the psychedelic-assisted therapy?
Well, there's a kind of standard answer we'd give. So I would say that if you line up 100 people, one of those persons is probably going to develop a serious mental illness like schizophrenia. Now, in the very same way, if you give 100 people, even if it's in a therapeutic place, psychedelics, one of those 100 potentially could develop a prolonged psychosis. So it's very low. But the secret is in the history, the family history, and that is not always evident. So I suppose it's about 1%, so 1 in 100.
Okay. And for those who may be lost, when we talk about psychosis, what do we mean?
Okay. So psychosis really is, people like to talk about out of touch with reality when they talk about psychosis. And what it means is that people who believe certain things that are not true, for example, their phone has been spiked, AI is spying on them, people who feel they're being followed and paranoid, people who have hallucinations, for example, voices that are saying bad things about them, and people who are disorganized in their thinking. So that is a psychotic episode. And people whose judgment is impaired, and people's sense of reality is very different from the person next to him or her who doesn't have psychosis.
Got it.
So it's important to understand that psychosis is a cluster of symptoms, which creates an entity called psychosis. But psychosis isn't an actual illness, but it occurs in a number of different mental illnesses or physical illnesses. For example, if somebody has got sepsis and they've got a burst appendix and they're sick and feverish, you might find that in hospital at night, they're feeling they've been kidnapped, that they've been replaced by somebody else, that the nurse is a policeman. That's also psychosis, but that can occur from a medical complication because of the chemicals that occur in the brain as a consequence of sickness.
I see. So, where does psychedelic-assisted therapy realistically fit alongside your conventional psychiatric treatment, rather than replacing it? Can the two coexist and use together?
Yeah, so it really, there's not one answer for all of them. So two points. Ketamine, which is the legal psychedelic, even though I don't want to confuse people, we call it a psychedelic, but again, we can compare it rather to cannabis in the sense that it's out of the pharmacological classification of psychedelics. But it is a very psychedelic substance. So that is safe with most psychiatric medicines. And often what happens is people have come to a point where they're on multiple medicines. And the reason that ketamine is indicated for them is because none of them have worked. So often if ketamine is initiated, it is done so with their medicine. And if it's the thing that makes the difference, ultimately, then the idea would be, in an ideal world, to reduce those other medicines slowly and just use the medicine that works. The second part of the question is, in South Africa, we have a particular system which is very sort of inequitable, as you know. And so when people are struggling, to access health services, we're talking, if we're going to go on to, say, for example, MDMA and psilocybin mushrooms or LSD were legalized in South Africa for medical purposes. The point is that you've got the models and the research has been done where you've got a 6-hour session or an 8-hour session with one patient and two therapists, which is very person intensive and very expensive. And so it's very hard to try and understand how that would fit in a South African setting, to be frank. And so I think our challenge as clinicians is to see, is there an option for group psychedelic experiences? Is there an option for group psychedelic trauma work? And I think this is all very, very important to think about because, having been to a psychedelic conference in Berlin, which was the European Conference for Psychedelic Medicine, it was very clear that South Africa and other countries like ourselves had not been thought about at all. And it's very hard, unfortunately, to sort of put up one hand and say, actually, what about us? We need a different model.
Yeah, certainly. So for someone who's considering this psychedelic-assisted therapy, maybe they're considering it as treatment. What should they know before pursuing it? What would you advise them?
Well, I would advise them, first of all, if they're thinking about it, to talk to somebody who works in the field, and who works in the field who's got good working knowledge, obviously, of big pharma or regular psychiatric medicine, and somebody who also has a good working knowledge of the pharmacology and the effects of psychedelics. So the first port of call would be, I would say, a clinician who is trained in Western medicine and also in psychedelic medicine. So, yeah, I mean, there are lots of people who some of them are doing very good work, but unfortunately, they don't have the training which is able to sort of span both of those kind of worlds. And I think that's where some people don't get the best advice. That's why, questions like, can I take magic mushrooms when I'm on an antidepressant? Even if somebody's talking in a recreational sense, because those questions get asked. And one needs to be able to provide proper, honest, and safe information so that people can make informed choices and decisions.
Dr. Kevin Stoloff, you've really been insightful in our conversation this morning. Thank you for making time. He's a specialist psychiatrist. It's 5 minutes now before 12 o'clock. Now, life doesn't slow down, and neither do you. Whether you are heading to work, you're traveling, or spending time in busy spaces, staying prepared matters, and that's why you should keep Immune close by. With 19 active ingredients, Immune supports proper immune function, assists in the relief of cold symptoms, and helps relieve symptoms associated with upper respiratory tract infections. Support your immune system and stay ready for whatever the day brings. Immune, upgrade your defense.
As a business owner, you're always looking for ways to save money. But have you looked at saving on your business insurance premium? With OUTsurance Business Insurance, you could save big, like Bosmansdam High School.
We were with our previous insurance for 10 years plus before switching to OUTsurance Business Insurance.
We are saving 3,705 Rand per month.
It was so quick and easy, we should have switched sooner.
Ready to switch and save? Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Big advances in health are happening right here in South Africa. Local researchers are studying a new TB vaccine called M72 that could help stop people from getting seriously ill. And programs like Cochimpilo are helping men living with HIV overcome stigma, start treatment and stay on it through peer support and private chat guidance. It's South Africans helping shape the future of global health, supported by the Gates Foundation for 25 years. Partners of human potential.
Durban is ready. Southern Africa is coming together. This August, South Africa proudly hosts the 46th SADC Summit in Durban, bringing together leaders united by a shared vision of regional cooperation, industrialization, economic integration, and sustainable development. When we work as one, trade flourishes, investment grows, jobs are created, and families enjoy opportunities. The 46th SADC Summit, one region, one people, one vision, shared prosperity.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
Oh, my goodness. What's coming out of the Madlanga Commission, my friends, is quite interesting. They've just mentioned Mashazi. Remember the city manager, former city manager, Dekuruleni, who was sent on a private jet to London, was paid for by Zeng Umalo, who's friends with Julius Malema. Well, something is being mentioned there around her, but I just heard the commissioners as well talking about Canelex. Apparently, well, based on the evidence that Chaskalson is presenting at the commission, where Canelex got robbed, Mr. Msibi, this notorious late taxi boss, would spring into action. Remember who is close to the Canelex bosses? Take a guess. Julius Malema, who has been to Joe Msibi's house. There's a relationship that exists there. Then there's a relationship that exists with Saeed, who works there at Canelex, who used to talk to Julius. This is actually Khan communicating with Julius via Saeed. Oh, it's literally just a lot of dots that are connecting. Mandy Winner, good morning.
Good morning.
We didn't even play this. Can we do this the right way, Abel?
Coming up.
There we go.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Let's try that again. How are you doing?
I'm good.
What's popping for I'm so fascinated.
I think we're
with
all
what's
trying to
coming
make
up
sense of this. There's so many dots to connect to try and make sense for the listeners of what's happening at the Madlanga Commission. So no Kat Matlala today, but we are looking at, you mentioned Msibi, at his text messages. They in the spotlight today. So we'll go through all of that. Bizarrely, Julius Mkhwanazi is applying for bail, which I don't understand.
Shame. He's probably going to be arrested again after stepping out of court.
The SIU and the NPA are giving a report back in Parliament. We are going to look at whether an indemnity deal was done by Cabinet in 1994 on apartheid-era crimes, that the minutes of that Cabinet meeting coming out, all of this part of the TRC, Gampepe Commission.
Vusi Bigoli warned us many years ago and said there may have been some interferences. Like it's clear that some senior leaders of the ANC may have agreed to things here that I think were a betrayal to the victims of apartheid-era crimes.
So we're going to unpack that. And then a really interesting report from the CDE on Joburg in jeopardy. This new report looking at whether the City of Gold can be saved.
That's the Midday Report. Up next with Mandy Wiener. Thank you for listening to the Tuesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. We're back again with you tomorrow between 9 and 12. Stay listening to 702 for the latest coming out of the Madlanga Commission. It's really, really hot stuff. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme improperly funded more than 40,000 students across 76 institutions to the value of 5.1 billion rand. This is according to an investigation conducted by the Public Protector. Advocate Kolega Galega released the findings of the probe today. Galega says of the money improperly disbursed, only 2 billion rand has been recovered so far.
The collective conduct
by NSFIS and the Department of Higher Education as canvassed above impairs the practical realization of the right to further education contemplated in Section 29(1)(b) of the Constitution and constitutes maladministration in terms of Section 6, subsection 4, and subsection 5, rather, of the Public Protector Act.
WhatsApp messages linked to late